We are tonight's entertainment.
You will never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Excellent!
Hello, everyone. Welcome to some Mania podcast, where we talk films past, present, and future. I am Sherman Trey White of Podcast Media, and joining me is the man, the myth, the legend. He's already trying harder than Michael Bay, Trillbee / Mr. Tortoise.
Before we talk about Transformers, dude, I've just got to say, Anthony Hopkins is the only reason you should ever watch Transformers: The Last Night. Because I don't know what the hell. I don't know what the hell he was on that set. Possibly speed, but I will not speculate.
I don't know what he was on, but I want some. He found Michael Bay's pile of cocaine. He was just like, no wonder Anthony Hopkins has been doing the press junkets saying that Michael Bay is like a genius filmmaker, one of the best directors he's ever worked with. Of course he is. He found his cocaine pile. And all Anthony Hopkins ever had to do was walk on a hill and have an IMAX camera pointed at him from 30 feet away.
We've known that Anthony Hopkins, with it like Silence of the Lambs and all of these other roles that he's done where he's let loose, that he's a mentally unhinged, unstable, insane person. And Michael Bay is basically just like, yeah, just be yourself on camera, and that's what he does.
Oh my god,
it's amazing. I love it. Genuinely love it.
We'll get to last night when we get to our first feature presentation in like 6 months. Trillbee, how are you doing?
Doing good, yeah. We were just saying off mic that you've managed to pry me away from the Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor game, which I've put about 10 hours in over the past 2 days, and I've just really, really enjoyed. Really fun.
Speaking of video games, I'm house sitting right now. I won't say from what location. Good luck finding me. Watch, I'm just gonna be knocking on my door in 20 minutes.
Sounds like a challenge.
Yeah, no, and a couple of days ago, I got my girlfriend into Minecraft for like the first time in 2 years, and so we're playing on the Xbox, and I'm over here doing all the Minecraft things. I'm already like super advanced in the game, and meanwhile she's just trying to build a house, and it's just, I thought it was nice. And that's what all my me sitting here doing nothing has been convinced of me plowing through episodes of West Wing and playing Minecraft on the Xbox. That's all I've been. It's been nice. Oh, and watching some films every now and then.
Have you seen, I think they announced Minecraft in 4K at E3 this past year. But
yes.
It sounds like it should be awesome, but they've done something really weird. Like, the cows in Minecraft, instead of just having a block for a face, and that is the cow's face, it is a picture of a cow's face.
Ew. That sounds
terrifying. It's really, really weird. I'll send you an image over Skype. It's and for those of you just listening at home, just Google Minecraft 4K cow.
Ew.
I'll send the image to you right now. If Minecraft in 4K sounds like it would be, it's a rudimentary looking game, but just the crisp and clarity of the blocks could be really cool in 4K. But that's not what we've got here.
Well, what makes Minecraft so great is the colors and the expansion. I always build up and make a house in the sky so I can see the sunset good. Let me see this picture.
But,
what the hell?
Yeah, if you look in the Skype chat,
that can't be real.
Right?
That can't be real.
That is real.
No way.
Is Minecraft's. That is Minecraft's cow in 4K.
That ruins the. That isn't even. That look. I mean, it looks like a cow, but like that's not. Ew. I don't want to kill. I don't want to eat anything that came from that. Gross.
I know.
Alright, time to start growing bread and eating mushrooms, alright.
But anyways, the mushrooms will also look real.
Oh god, this is gonna be that, but like actual fungus sprouting from their eyelids and whatnot. That's disgusting. Alright guys, time codes listen down below.
Oh yeah, we have a podcast to do, don't we?
Yeah. We're gonna get into some movie news, and then we'll talk about some of the films we saw, and then we'll get into our Transformers talk. That being said, Trillbee, let's just hop into the movie news.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story. Cannonball!
Alright guys, this is the movie news portion of the show, in which case we answer... No, we don't. We don't answer things. We discussed the movie news that occurred over the last week. I can never get these intros right. You think I'd be able to by now?
Well, To be fair, we are here to answer the big question of the week, and that is, what the hell has happened with the Han Solo movie?
Disney, what's going on, man? Like, what is... Okay, so apparently Kathleen Kennedy doesn't know how to get a director right the first time on these Star Wars stories. Okay, I guarantee you, if this Rogue One fiasco that happened with Rogue One happened a year before Rogue One came out, just like Han Solo, Gareth Edwards might have been fired from Rogue One, because apparently they just because as it's infamously known at this point, they essentially kicked Gareth Edwards out and reshot a lot of the movie and then edited it all, and he didn't have a lot to do with it. And like
they got the guy who directed Nightcrawler to do it.
No, they got either his brother or his dad, Tony Gilroy. Dan Gilroy did Nightcrawler, and then Tony Gilroy, who I think is an editor.
Oh, okay.
They got him to do the reshoots. You were close though, Trillbee. I don't know. I
was so close.
I feel like they're related somehow, so I'll give you that. For you guys that don't know, in case you guys don't know, originally Phil Lord and Chris Miller, directors of, in my opinion, fantastic films like Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, the Lego Movie, the Jump Street reboots. They were hired to do the Han Solo standalone film that Disney Lucasfilm are doing. And the cast has been established. They've been shooting since January. If they weren't, and then suddenly, out of nowhere, I get home from Transformers, and I turn my phone. I'm gonna post my reaction emoji on Instagram. And I was like, this is gonna be a fun reaction emoji. And then I go on Twitter, and it's just like, what it was like, Han Solo has lost their directors. I'm like, what? And then and as the news cycle continued, as they were trying to find a new director, Ron Howard has taken over. Trillbee, what do you think?
This is bad, man.
Do you think Ron Howard was gonna direct a different Star Wars movie?
Well, Ron he's been skirting around the edges of Star Wars for quite a while. Like he appeared in George Lucas's American Graffiti, where he was Ronnie Howard. He was offered the gig of Phantom Menace, and then he thought, no, I'd rather you screwed this up. So he turned it down. So he's
Lawrence
kind of been
Lawrence Kasdan said the same thing.
Yeah, he's kind of been skirting around Star Wars before, so I don't think he was pegged to do it, but maybe... I'm not sure exactly what close proximity he was in at the time. Maybe they were just like, oh, who's walking around the Lucasfilm lot right now? Ron Howard, that guy!
Maybe because all the directors they want are busy doing something right now. Like, all the directors they were trying to get a couple of years ago are like, they ended up getting somebody else. Like, Brad Bird's doing Incredibles, Matthew Vaughn's doing He-Man or whatever, and he's the one doing He-Man, right? It's Matthew Vaughn? He's doing Masters of the Universe, or was that not confirmed?
I can't recall.
If that's the case, then let's give it to Matthew Vaughn. Everyone else has just been kind of busy out doing their own thing. They're just kind of like... Because Jon Favreau's doing Lion King. So, like, I don't... Like, this just seems like an odd choice to jump to, yeah?
Well, Ron Howard is a safe choice. He is an established, great veteran director. He's an Academy Award winner. He's not done great work recently. He's got quite a few box office flops under his belt from the past few years.
His last good film was probably Rush, which was like
Rush, absolutely.
Ago. Yeah, love Rush. That's good. If you guys haven't
Rush is
seen
amazing.
Rush, it's Chris Hemsworth, Daniel Bruhl racing. It's a good movie. Sorry.
It's based off a true story about this rivalry that these two Formula One racers had. It was like in my top 10 best films of the year it came out, but it hardly made any money. It was a box office disappointment.
Yeah.
So this is good for Ron Howard in terms of just him having a bona fide success under his belt, because this film is going to make a lot of money. But in terms of Phil Lord and Chris Miller leaving the project, they started filming on January 30th. That's when we got to the shot first Han tweet or whatever. That's when that happened.
Han first shot. I love that.
First shot. But they actually signed on in June or July 2015. This has been a relationship that they've had for 2 years with Lucasfilm.
That's my thing, man. I get the Edgar Wright comparison, where someone's like, "Oh, it's like Edgar Wright," because like Edgar Wright, he was Ant-Man took so long, but by the time they wanted Edgar Wright wanted to make his own movie, it was a different kind of universe. But this is like, why hire somebody if you know what you're going to get when you hire Phil Lord and Chris Miller? It's like saying, I want to hire Chris Nolan to make a dumb action movie. Like, unless it's about space, that's not going to happen. Interstellar, burn. No, but like you know you know what you're getting into when you hire the Jump Street and Lego movie guys. You're gonna get something clever, quick-witted, fun, and really high octane. And apparently that's not what Kathleen Kennedy wanted. Like, what do you mean?
This isn't like Gareth Edwards, where you get a guy who, in my opinion, doesn't really have much to say with his work, or at least he's not revealed much of an emotional core with his films, whether it be Godzilla or Monster, which he can develop that over time.
He is good at scale, though, and I think that might play a part into it,
Yeah, he's good at scale, and in terms of technical filmmaking and special effects, he's really good at that, which is why he was good on paper for Star Wars Rogue One. But for Phil Lord and Chris Miller, these two have established themselves as auteurs. They thrive in meta shtick, in meta narratives. Like the Jump Street reboot, that whole film, those films are built around mocking reboots, mocking sequels. It's the same case, do it again.
Just do the same thing.
Yeah, and the Lego movie is a whole meta narrative on the presence of Lego as a pop culture institution, and how do the Chance of Meatballs is just off the wall, insane and awesome. These guys have a pedigree, they have a style. And the thing that makes this kind of concerning is that does Kathleen Kennedy and the people at Lucasfilm not vet their directors? Do they just say, oh, these guys, they've done some critically acclaimed films and they get the hashtags and the tweets and the trendings going, so let's hire them. Do they not vet their work?
Apparently, there's been some. I've watched videos and I've read some stuff, and apparently when they got the scripts. Lord and Miller, apparently they didn't stick with a lot of what Kasdan had. Lawrence Kasdan, for you guys that don't know, wrote Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens. And then he wrote Force Awakens with J.J. Abrams, and then he came on... Han Solo, I think, is his last film he said he was going to write, was Han Solo, and apparently Lord and Miller wanted to do something more different than... Which makes sense to me, because I thought the whole point of these Star Wars stories was so that you could get your main films, and we had this exact same conversation last year with Rogue One when all the news about Rogue One came out, and I thought the whole point of the Star Wars stories were that because the main trilogy, your reboot trilogy, if you will, we're going to have that same classic Star Wars feel with all the, with all your lightsabers and your Force and Jedi Skywalker saga, and then your standalones, your spin-offs, if you will, we're going to get to have different feels to them. And so if this one was going to be more of like an action comedy, kind of like almost if you want like a buddy cop space opera, which I was totally down for because I figured that's what they were going to do with Han Solo, Chewbacca, and Lando all being the main characters in a movie. Duh, like that just it writes itself. Apparently not. Yeah. But apparently if that's not what Kathleen wanted.
If I want Han Solo being Han Solo, I'll watch one of the episodic films. I'll watch Episode 7 and any other future appearances he may have as a Force Ghost or flashbacks or whatever. If I want, let's say, Han Solo's in a terrible situation, freeze frame. You're probably wondering how I got in this situation. I want that in a spin-off. I want that in something that is detached tonally from the films. That's why you do the spin-offs. I know I'm just echoing what you said, but that's why you get Phil Lord and Chris Miller.
You can make something feel different and have the character stay that character. Say what you will about something like the Adam West Batman or the Lego Batman movie, but comparing those two to, like, let's say the Dark Knight trilogy, Batman is still Batman. The main crux of Batman as a mythology and a character pretty much stays the same throughout pretty much all interpretations, unless your name is Zack Snyder. And so there is a way you can still take that character of Han Solo, oh my god, of Han Solo, that rogue, that charm, and you can place that in whatever it is they were going to be doing. So I'm worried now that next it's still coming out in May. I think it comes out exactly 11 months from now, right? May 25th. So I think that even when this comes out almost a year from now, which we still haven't gotten a title, by the way, that's okay. I'm worried we're going to be getting the same feeling movie that we've gotten the last two movies. And I think this is the main thing people were concerned about when they said we were in Star Wars every year. People were worried that it was going to feel samey, but that's not the point of these Star Wars stories. But frustration.
Yeah, apparently it was Alden Ehrenreich, Han Solo himself, who initially brought this problem to the producers, that he was concerned about the direction Han Solo was heading in. And according to rumours and sources and such, Ehrenreich cited his performance as resembling Jim Carrey in Ace Ventura: Pet Detective, which might have been an extreme exaggeration on his part. Who knows? I've not seen what they've been filming for the past 5 months, and 5 months they've been filming this friggin' thing. But if that's the case, you can understand why Lord and Miller may have had issues with Kennedy or with Lawrence Kasdan and his son John Kasdan, who's also screenwriting the film.
I get that, but like you said, they've been attached for 2 years.
Yeah, this is something you should have had established way in advance. Like
maybe when Kennedy goes to the storyboard meetings, it's like, this is where Han Solo climbs out of a Banthas behind. Maybe Kathleen Kennedy could cross that out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Or maybe she got halfway through crossing it out and then had to be called to something else. You know, she's a very busy lady.
Yeah.
And then Phil Lord and Chris Miller walk in and say, "That looks like a giant tick next to that sequence. Let's do it." It's the first thing we film.
How about like Phil Lord and Chris Miller come out to like a press conference and they kind of like get closer together and then they both rip off like a conjoined mask and reveal that they were both actually just George Lucas. It's just George Lucas there. It's like, this was my plan the whole time. He just has a Diet Coke in his hand.
Now, my big question now is that D23 is around the corner.
Yeah, it's in
under 3 weeks' time, 2.5 weeks' time.
Oh, that's right. They are putting it around the same time as Comic-Con.
Yes.
So fucking ballsy. Why would they do that?
Well, you think that if everything was drama-free and everything was going fine, they may have like maybe a B-reel or some footage to show for the new Han Solo film.
Yeah, behind the scenes of... Well, yeah, we'll probably get another Last Jedi trailer. And then, they probably would have given us a Han Solo title. And maybe announce the third spinoff? I don't know.
But I think that if they were planning to show footage, that is now completely gone.
No.
Because
they may not talk about Han Solo at all. They may bring out the cast and Ron Howard, and then maybe do like a couple of questions. But after this fiasco, I don't know.
I don't think Ron Howard is going to be doing a top-to-bottom remake of the Han Solo film, but they're not going to want to put out a trailer or footage at D23 or Comic-Con that's not going to be representative of Ron Howard's tone or what is going to be released next year.
In the end, a question we've asked a few times now, in the end credit, it's going to say directed by Ron Howard. Are they just going to get like writing credit then? What happens?
This is another interesting part of the story because apparently them letting go of Phil Lord and Chris Miller may have been in violation of the Directors Guild of America's code. So Lucasfilm
Star Wars has always had a problem with the DGA, haven't they? Jesus.
Maybe, but it would seem because they've got a rule saying that a replacement for a director may not be somebody who was already involved with the production, so that cannot be any of the Kasdans. They can't be involved at all because there was talk of maybe getting them to replace the film, so that's why they almost got in trouble there. But the fact it would also have to do with how Phil Lord and Miller get credited because they've been filmed. They're going to be in front of those cameras or behind those cameras for much longer than Ron Howard will be.
Yeah, 5 months of a production. That's like almost all of it, right? Movies don't usually shoot for 6 months, do they? Unless it's
6 months is an extensive shoot, and there's going to be about 5 weeks of reshoots.
Jesus, all right.
So it's a messy situation, but when the Blu-ray or the DVD gets released, there's not going to be many special features because those 5 months Disney and Lucasfilm are going to try and erase from existence because they want to keep the brand looking good.
All that B-roll is being locked in the vault with Disney's head. Yeah.
And Jar Jar Binks.
And Jar Jar Binks.
They open the vault. Let me out! No!
One styrofoam Jar Jar Binks head that they had at the Phantom Menace premiere.
Yeah.
It's like, sir, why don't we burn it? It'll be worth something in about 20 years. Give it time.
We'll see how that goes.
That's all the news I had written down, Joe. That was kind of the big story of this week. I don't know if you noticed anything else you'd like to bring up.
Well, I would have liked to have brought up the Venom movie apparently being part of the MCU, but like breaking news from an hour or two ago before we started recording, apparently that's not the case now.
I didn't know what to say about that, so I didn't comment on it. So it's not. So Amy, Amy, what's her name again? Amy Schumer.
Pascal.
Amy Pascal. Amy
Schumer just walks into a Spider-Man Homecoming press junket and announces all of the upcoming slate.
Let's talk about why Spider-Man can be a strong character for not men. Anyways, God, I hate Amy Schumer.
Oh boy.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I'm not even that big a fan of Amy Schumer. I'm just so indifferent about her, but I just think that's funny.
Amy Pascal.
Really
so that all those meetings about Kevin Feige turning his head towards her and looking at her when she said that was a real thing. So he legitimately was upset for her saying that. That makes sense.
Yeah, but I don't want to comment too much on that story because it seems to be ever evolving and ever changing.
It's like the Carrie Fisher episode 9 stuff where you're like, what are they? So she's in it. She's not in it. She was supposed to die in episode 8, but she wasn't supposed to die in episode. There are so many conflicting reports on that. I still don't know if that's anything there has been confirmed.
Okay, right, so Eric Davis, who I don't know who he is, but he's verified on Twitter, so he seems like a legit guy. Amy Pascal's full quotes on the statement she recently made about Venom being connected to Spider-Man Homecoming. The quote says, "Everyone seems to have totally misunderstood what I said, and I'm so glad for a chance to say it. All the characters are a part of the Marvel comic book universe, and they're all interrelated in that universe. Spider-Man is now part of the MCU as he was created to be in the beginning. The other things that Sony are doing, which are characters from the Marvel comic book universe, are independent, separate franchises, both Venom and Silver Sable and Black Cat. So they're going to be independent and they are not going to be part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe," which seems to directly contradict what she said a few days ago. She says that people have understood what she said. No, we just took exactly what you said for what it meant, but I'm assuming that Kevin Feige has had a couple of talks with you behind closed doors.
Yeah. I like to imagine, like, the guy yells cut and the camera stops rolling or whatever. Kevin Feige just, like, puts, like, things, it's like...
Dude, what the hell?
Yeah, like, or he just, like, someone just, like, whispers in his ear and he's like, do it. And then, like, she just gets tackled on the ground and then, like, someone dressed as Tony Stark walks out. It's like when Disney Secrets League and a bunch of stormtroopers come out and tackle you. So,
but
wait, what was her exact quote?
This was her initial quote, and I've got this in front of me because I wrote the story for this for geekfeed.com. Her quote when asked about these spin-offs: "It will all take place in the world we are now creating for Peter Parker. It will be adjunct to it. It may be different locations, but it will be in the same world and they will be connected to each other as well." And then when asked if Tom Holland's Spider-Man will make an appearance in those spin-off films, she says, "There's a chance, there's always a chance." Like, fair enough if the plan has changed, but don't say that we misunderstood you.
Oh yeah, because that clearly can be misunderstood. Is Spider-Man going to be in the... Yeah, yes, they are in the same universe. Will he be in his movies? I mean, probably. That's essentially what she just said. She's like, yeah, they'll probably be in the same universe. And then, like, 2 days later, it's like, you guys got it all wrong. I didn't say they're going to... Yes, you did! Oh, Amy. Oh, Amy. She's my favorite person in Hollywood right now.
But yeah, I thought that maybe Kevin Feige or Marvel were going to make an official announcement at D23 or Comic-Con or something, but who knows? This is confusing.
Oh, Disney. You're in a great spot right now. In other news, Wonder Woman continues to be a financial success.
It does, yeah. The box office for this past weekend, Box Office Mojo have got the predictions, and Wonder Woman is predicted to drop only another 30%, which would tie it. Cars 3 and Wonder Woman are predicted to make the exact same amount of money this weekend.
Like 20
Cars
something?
3, 25,175,000. They're both exact estimates for each other right now. So once the actuals come through, one of them will overtake, but it just shows the incredible legs that Wonder Woman has, as well as its box office legs. But
We'll get to the Transformers box office in a second. Yeah. Did it crack 60 million like they thought it would? I don't know.
It's in the 3-day weekend. It did not crack 60 million. In the 5-day weekend, because the 5-day period, because it was released a few days early. Yeah. 69.1 million.
Okay.
Which is good. That's not a terrible result, but it is the lowest opening of the entire franchise, including the first film.
It's the lowest film of the entire franchise, so
but
perhaps it's appropriate.
in China, it has had its biggest opening to date. What is it? Age of Extinction made 30 million in China. I can't see a Chinese number though. Oh, blimey. Oh, no, okay. So in China, it made 123 million, and Age of Extinction made 30 million less than that. So it has a franchise high opening in China, but the rest of the territories are either the lowest or in the bottom half.
Okay.
So China is going to be the savior of this film.
Do we know its global total right now?
If you give me a moment, it's 265 million.
All right, that's not bad at all, but it's not as good as the other films have done.
Yeah, so it's made its production budget back in its opening weekend.
Yeah,
which is always a good result, but this is going to probably rank as one of the lowest grossing of the franchise.
It may not crack $500 million. I don't know. Let me think.
This will crack $500 million, but
you think
it might? Yeah. It's got the momentum. There's not much. What's coming out next weekend?
Well, Spider-Man's out in a couple weeks, and then Apes.
Okay, next weekend is Despicable Me 3.
Yeah, which will take all that kid money away. Yeah,
it will. Despicable Me 3 and The House, which is an R-rated comedy with Will Ferrell and Amy Poehler.
Yeah.
Let's see how those reviews are for whether or not that does good.
It doesn't matter, because Minions reviews were pretty trash, but Minions cracked $1 billion easily.
Yeah, that's true, but I do see Transformers 5 making at least 600 to 650 million, and it might peak. It might peak there. It depends what its legs are like in China.
You know what, China, fair, because it'll have legs there in China. Oh, those Chinese. Oh boy. All right, Trillbee.
No comment. This sounds very wrong.
Let's get to the homework section.
Let's do it.
This week, each one of you has a homework assignment.
Your homework is to listen to some real music, get inspired.
Is this your homework, Larry?
Down with homework?
All right, guys, this is the movie. Now it's not. I can never do these bloody
Trey,
intros. Right?
Would you like to start again, or should we just keep going?
No, we're gonna keep going. This is the homework portion of the show. In which case, we do the homework movies that we were either assigned to see or just saw on our own. All right, so I'll go first. I've been looking forward to seeing this new horror film by Trey Edward Schultz. It's from A24. It's called It Comes at Night. And I got a chance to see that accidentally, if I'm honest with you. It's a story time, quick tangent. So I saw Transformers on Tuesday evening. I went Tuesday night, the opening show down at the IMAX. We'll talk about that later and why that was a mistake. And I knew the next day I knew at that same theater there would be a Baby Driver preview screening, because the movie doesn't come out in America until this upcoming Wednesday. But there was a screening there last Wednesday, and I said, let's go see a Baby Driver. Things happen. People feel bad. And so we get there late, and we missed the screening. The seats fill up, which is fine. Fair. And so we're just standing there, and I'm like, let's go see It Comes at Night. And so, and my friend's like, do you want to pay for the tickets? I'm like, no, let's just walk in. And so we went in and watched It Comes at Night, and we saw it for free. We just sat in the corner of the theater. It was a small theater too, but no one was there to see it. I didn't think anyone would show up in our seats. So, so I saw It Comes at Night. And It Comes at Night, without giving too much away, it stars Joel Edgerton. He's probably the most well-known cast member in the film. And it's about this family that lives in the woods, in a home in the woods, and they are in the midst of what can only be described as a bad situation. Things are not right in the world right now, and it's very weary, it's very bleak. And one day they stumble across a family that they take in, and things go how things tend to go in movies like this. That's the vaguest I can be.
Let me guess. The family they take in liked Transformers 5.
Yeah,
and puts them
it really
the
actually.
Well,
the whole family turns out to be Trump supporters, and so they all just they start having this debate on whether or not it should have been Hillary or Trump. And then the baby's like, Bernie, and then they shoot the baby. It's really rough, man.
I feel like that actually might become a horror movie reveal in a few years' time, where they've got like someone's got a red cap on that's backwards, and then they're like, "Wait, show me your cap." They flip it around and it says "Make America Great Again."
It's like that scene in Harry Potter, Deathly Hallows, where it's like, who do you support in the wizard election, like the election? And he just turns his hat around. You see Bernie Sanders' face, so he puts the wand down.
and then they say with the hat, take it off and let's look at the tag inside, and in the tag inside it says "Made in China," and then they shoot them.
Yeah, no, but It Comes at Night. It's a film from Trey Edward Schultz, who I don't know anything else that he's done, but apparently he's done other good work, from what I've heard. And It Comes at Night is a very, very good movie. It's a very powerful, very intense, and it's marketed as a horror film, and it's definitely got some horror elements from it. As someone who had to who was house sitting that day, coming home at night after watching the movie was not an easy thing to do, especially because the house I'm house sitting is really big. But it's not necessarily a horror film, but it's incredibly suspenseful. I was pretty tense from the first frame. And pretty much everything about the film that it does exceptionally well. Everything pretty much, I guess, except pacing. The pacing is incredibly methodical and very slow, but I think that's done intentionally to keep you on the edge of your seat. Everyone's great in it. The film looks beautiful. It's amazing how much a cinematographer can get from a red door and some lanterns. And there are some shots where if you were to be sitting next to me and watching, you would just hear me go, just like silently, the same way I do with like Mad Max, where I was just like, good lord, that looks beautiful. Yeah, so it's it's this almost riveting look at paranoia and what death can do to people, and I think that it's not a film that I think, oh, you've got to rush out and see It Comes at Night now, but if you do catch it, you will have a very good time. Just walk in knowing that it's not going to be, because even if you watch that first teaser they released is pretty accurate of the film as a whole, and everyone seems to be under the impression that what makes a good thriller is like, oh, Bye Bye Man and and Annabelle, but like I sat next to these two idiots. And the moment the movie ends, they're like, that was it? Oh, that sucked. I'm like morons. Like, you can't appreciate good movies when you see them. Go and watch. I bet they're watching. I bet they're going to see Transformers, but Transformers was all set up to like, let's go watch a scary movie. Morons. God. Idiots. Anyways, that's it. Comes at Night, and it's quite good. I give it like an 8.9. It's really good.
No, it's something I've heard really good things about, but I've been told just to completely avoid the trailers, so that's what I've done. I've just been told that the trailers don't really represent what the film actually is. So
I think the first teaser is a good representation. The posters are definitely a good representation of what the film is about. It's very atmospheric.
Yeah, but I'm definitely going to check it out at some point. Yeah. I'm not sure when it comes out in the UK. It comes at night. When does it come out here? Double check.
At night.
7th of July at only midnight screenings. July 7th is when it comes out here, so I'll try and check it out then, definitely.
All right.
Mm-hmm. But you managed to miss that Baby Driver screening.
I missed 2 Baby Driver screenings actually because I was busy doing something Thursday, and I was so pissed. Yeah.
Well, it turns out that I managed to see it. I saw Baby Driver.
You bastard.
And
is it out in the UK already?
Yes, it came out this past weekend. Bastard. But I got an early screening on Tuesday night.
Bastard.
Hey, it's fair. Edgar Wright is one of us.
So excited. What the hell? What was that? Edgar Wright is one of us.
Yeah, he's a British dude.
I know.
It's alright. I look forward to
I get my Black Panther screening, Trillbee. I get it first.
Why? Because Ryan Coogler is one of you?
Yeah, he's a black American, isn't he?
Well, Edgar Wright is a nerdy, pasty white guy, so I get to see it first.
Just talk about the damn movie, Trillbee.
either way, this Edgar Wright is this English pasty white guy. This latest film is based around Ansel Elgort's character named Baby, who was involved in an accident when he was a kid in a car, and he now has a permanent ringing in the back of his ears. So he always has an iPod on, listening to upbeat music to drown out the noise. And he's also a getaway driver for a mob organization. And because he's always listening to music, it kind of colours his whole worldview. And Baby Driver takes place in some weird hyper-reality of a world, because we are looking at it from this character's perspective, who's always listening to upbeat, energetic music and a really eclectic soundtrack. And the whole film is sort of paced to the soundtrack. Kevin Spacey was in an interview on a UK TV show the other day, and he was saying that Edgar Wright would play the music for the scene over the speakers so that they could time their movements to the beat of the music. And music is infused in the film's creative DNA, and not just in the fact that it underscores the action sequences and the dialogue scenes, but there's also some really great sequences where these group of strangers, because this mafia, this mob organization run by Kevin Spacey, he never uses the same team twice. It's a constantly rotating group of criminals. So it's a group of complete strangers who've never really met each other, but they're still able to talk about their favourite songs, their favourite artists, their favourite music. So it just shows that music is something that can universally bring people together and give them common ground. Like, for example, me and you, Trey, we've never met before, have we? But we're still able to talk about movies. We have a common interest that we're just able to talk about for hours and hours as we do.
You can be like an Asian woman for all I know.
I could buy her. Also, I'm on Wednesday night. Her name is Antiqua. What? Gentlemen, start your engines and may the best woman win.
What the hell are you on? Keep talking about the movie, truly.
Sorry, too much RuPaul's Drag Race on Netflix. What was I on about? Baby Driver. So we've watched Transformers this past week. There's a couple of car chases. There's so much money pumped into it, but you have no idea what the hell's going on. Baby Driver is about like 10% of the budget of any of the Transformers films, but the action is head over heels, significantly better than anything that probably tops most of the stuff in the Fast and Furious franchise, really. The action set pieces in Baby Driver are absolutely superb. No CGI to be found, just incredible stunts, great camera work, superb editing. Bill Pope is the cinematographer here, and he's worked with he did the cinematography for Spider-Man 2, which has some of the greatest action set pieces ever. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, The World's End, The Jungle Book. This guy has got an incredible filmography. The Matrix trilogy as well, which say what you will about those films, but those action sequences are incredibly well photographed. And Bill Pope brings his incredible expertise he brings his expertise behind the wheel of this film. And it's really well performed. Lily James, Kevin Spacey, Ansel Elgort, and the rest of the cast are great. John Bernthal is only in the film for about 5 minutes, which I found quite disappointing. John Hamm is awesome. Jamie Foxx is insane and so much fun to watch. Cast are terrific, but this is an Edgar Wright film. His fingerprints are all over it, but not in an obnoxious way. There's even a callback to the Shaun of the Dead sequence where he walks out of his house and he walks to the shop and back, and it's all done in one take. There's even a callback to that, but it doesn't feel like Edgar Wright's going, oh, look how smart I am, this is a reference to what I've previously done. It just feels like it informs this character, and it still works in this context. Soundtrack's amazing. I feel like it is kind of maybe missing a big emotional punch like Edgar Wright's previous films do, like The World's End and Shaun of the Dead, where they have those third act twists and those really heavy moments. But maybe I'm kind of comparing it too much to Edgar Wright's previous work, but I still had so much fun with the film. My audience, it was a full screening. We were laughing basically the whole way through. Some great character reveals. It's just so much fun. It's a really good time at the movies, and this is in my top 5 of 2017 so far.
Yeah, everyone tells me Baby Driver is one of the best movies of the year. It is, and like you said earlier, it's hard to make. It's like when you watch a Nolan movie, like he's made some of the best films ever. It's hard to say that, like, even if it's not as good as some of his better films, which happen to be some of the best films ever, that doesn't mean it's not a good film. Like World's End's one of my favorite movies. It's my favorite movie he's done, in my opinion. And if it's not as good as The World's End, that doesn't mean it's not a good movie, because it's hard to try to make every movie a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, like, I'm hesitant to like even say that Baby Driver's in my top 5 of the year, even though it's true. I don't want to get people's expectations super, super high for it, because at its core, this is a relatively simple, straightforward action heist film.
Yeah.
That's really all it is, but in terms of its modest ambitions, it just goes as far as you can push that premise, I think. It's basically the best at what it aspires to be.
All right. Well, that gets me excited. I will, if I have the opportunity, I will see it as soon as I can. I'm probably going to try to make time to see it on Tuesday after I'm done shooting.
Well, one thing I'll say to listeners, though, is that so on Facebook earlier, one of my friends from school who I've not seen or spoken to for ages, she put on Facebook saying, thinking about seeing the new Transformers, is there anything else out this weekend? And I said, go watch Baby Driver. And she was like, oh, I've never heard of it, what is it? And I said, it's the new film from the guy who did Shaun of the Dead. And she was like, oh yeah, I'll take me and my friends to go see it. It is a film that, even though we know all about it, and I'm sure our listeners know all about it, it's still relatively under the radar for many people. So if you have seen a film like Baby Driver or something that has kind of gone under the radar, let your friends know if you want it to succeed, if you do think that they should, if they're deserving of it, because we are, for lack of a better term, we are like the 1% of film viewers who know everything that's coming out this weekend, or who know about films like Baby Driver or Atomic Blonde or these festival action films.
We saw a trailer. I saw the new trailer they had for Atomic Blonde during It Comes at Night. God, that movie looks so good. It looks so good, Trillbee. I'm so excited.
I have Baby Driver and Atomic Blonde like completely linked with each other, because they debuted
South by
Cannes
Southwest
Film Festival. No, yeah, South by Southwest, my mistake. And then they had trailers that came out on the exact same day. They had a second trailer that also came out on the exact same day, and there was a trailer for Atomic Blonde before Baby Driver. These two films, even though their only real connection is the fact that they screened at the same festival, kind of are completely linked in my mind, and I don't know if that's a good or bad thing.
Apparently Atomic Blonde is good. From what I've heard, I've heard nothing but good things.
I'm looking forward to that as well.
Yeah, me too. That's there's still time to save the summer, guys. There's still time to save the summer.
Yeah.
Okay. Speaking of saving the summer, let's get to the feature presentation.
And now, our feature presentation.
I am Optimus Prime, and I send this message to Michael Bay. Please, stop making these piece of shit films.
I thought you were going to say, my name is Optimus Prime, and I send this message to all Autobots. Do not come to Earth. They make terrible movies about us.
I'm Optimus Prime. I'm in the movie for literally 6 minutes.
That is not my likeness. That does not represent me, because I'm a psychopath in these films, but I'm really very nice.
I mentioned how we should kill everyone in every movie. It's odd. I often rip people's eyes out of their sockets.
Yeah, and then when I turn evil and Mark Wahlberg says, Prime, this isn't you, it makes no sense. Yeah.
Do we have to go non-spoilers on this? Can we just go full spoilers, Trillbee?
Yeah, I think we should, because the people who really, really do care will have already seen it by now, and I think even those who do care aren't particularly bothered.
Yeah, well, you know what? So that's your warning, guys. Full spoilers for last night. God, Trillbee, this movie's so bad. Trillbee, what the hell, man? Okay, so I went and saw it with Christian, right? And I turned to him. I think it was a day or two before the movie came out. I'm like, it's got a 0%. And he's like, what? I'm like, Transformers, that is a 0%. No, it was the day of. It was at 0%. Because when they finally released the review embargo, it was at 0%. I'm like, it has a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes. And he looked at me like, oh my god. and it's gone up to like, what, 17 now, maybe? 13?
Yeah, I think it's like 15 or 16.
Yeah, and I'm like, Jesus. And like, and we walk in. And we sit down. We went down to the IMAX that I have in town. Big screen, really, it was massive. I was like, Jesus, I haven't been here since Ant-Man, or Civil War. But it was just, I sat there kind of looking forward to at least being able to see how Michael Bay utilized the IMAX cameras. But Trillbee, okay, let me present a scenario to you, Trillbee. Let's get 2 actors, you and me. We'll put them in a room together, and we'll get an A camera and a B camera, and we'll do a reverse shot of a conversation, right? But let's shoot let's say the total scene has like, I don't know, 18 shots in it, right? And let's say like 11 of those shots are in the IMAX ratio, and then like I'm not good at math. 6 of those shots, I don't know, are in like the 2:3:5 ratio.
The number you're looking for is 7.
Oh, I left one out, and then one of them, for no inexplicable reason, is in like 1:8:5, just to piss you off. Like the black bars get like 1 inch taller, just to really make you angry. Trillbee, this movie is atrocious. I haven't talked about this movie yet. What do you think, man?
Concerning the aspect ratio, that when I walked in, there was actually a warning at the screen saying occasionally the aspect ratio will change from 16:9 to 155:3 or something. I think that's what it was saying. I forgot to take a photo of it, and at the bottom it says that this was an intentional choice by the filmmaker. And the fact that sentence was separate from the rest of the thing, obviously it was trying to say it's not a problem with our projector, it's just how the film's meant to be. But the fact that it said this is an intentional choice from the filmmaker also kind of says, yes, the filmmaker chose to do this very, very badly.
Yeah, people that's your way of letting people like they meant this. They meant to do that. This was clearly something they needed to do. Okay.
It's frustrating and distracting, and even in conversation sequences, it just snaps you out of the moment, like almost at every single edit, and it's like obviously the clarity of an IMAX image is much better than the standard cameras that they were using. So why couldn't they just maybe occasionally crop the image? Like, it doesn't mess with the clarity of the image. Just crop for the action sequences, and you want to show off the IMAX, go nuts, do whatever. But during the conversations, just keep it the same aspect ratio, even if you were using different cameras.
Why shoot a conversation with IMAX cameras? Like
You've just got to capture Anthony Hopkins' brilliance.
Like they're sitting in like Anthony Hopkins' house, and there's just like Anthony Hopkins and Mark Wahlberg are like 80 feet high. I'm like, why? Like what? There's no need. And then so when they cut to different shots and they showed it in the 2:3:5, the regular letterbox format that people are familiar with in most movies, the widescreen, I'm like, wait, it's like if you're, because when Pixar used to do DVDs, right? They had 2 versions of when the movie released. They had a widescreen version, which was the original theatrical aspect ratio, and then they had the full screen version, which is where back when TVs were still square, it was formatted to fit onto the older TVs in the 16:9 ratio, and they stretched the film. And it was like trying to watch 2 versions of that Finding Nemo just cut together. It's like suddenly like Crush goes from being full screen stretched face to like regular movie, and it made things look small. And watching it in IMAX, and it was in 3D. Every maybe 20 or 25 minutes, I took my glasses off and just like rubbed my eyes together because I could not fathom the fact that IMAX and their like Twitter and their Instagram has been like promoting, it's like, see the movie the way it was meant to be, and I think I commented, I said, you guys should be ashamed to let Michael Bay do what he did with your IMAX cameras. You guys ought to be ashamed of yourself. And they said they shot 98% of it in IMAX. Bullshit. Sorry, pardon my French. Malarkey. I don't buy that for a second. No, because there's a lot of 2:3:5 in this movie. 98%
Maybe they did shoot at 98% of this in IMAX, and then Michael Bay just thought, because I just hate my audience, I'm just going to mess with the aspect ratio anyway.
He's not that clever. He's not crafty enough to do that.
I think a director who has Anthony Hopkins, as he's walking through a submarine, say, "Get out of the way, you fat git." I think this is a man who does have a disdain for the general public.
Also, okay, Trillbee, let's break this down. Let's break this down, Trillbee. Okay, give me a positive, Trillbee. Is there anything you liked in Transformers: The Last Night?
I liked Anthony Hopkins having a good time.
Yeah.
But there's maybe 1 or 2 shots and vistas and cool special effect moments that looked good. maybe one or two moments that did make me laugh, even though I was laughing at the movie and not with it. I think that it did a good job at setting up the Bumblebee spin-off, which is coming out next year.
Yeah.
But this is the thing, because this film is 2.5 hours long, it cost about $250 million to make, and there's like thousands of special effects artists and a massive cast, a globe-hopping story. And you just think, if you have all of these resources, why don't you have somebody with a creative spark involved in order to give these characters something to do?
If you have $250 million, why can't you afford a tripod? I'll let you keep talking, Joey, but that was my first thought. I'm like, get a tripod.
That is legit. That's a legit concern.
Get a tripod.
This is the 5th film in this franchise, and I'm not angry at it. I think in terms of ranking the series, this is slap bang in the middle.
Really?
Whereas I think you mentioned earlier that it was worse. Like that's not an endorsement of the film at all in any way, but I think this is the third best or the third worst film of the franchise.
I kind of like 4. I can sit down and watch a good chunk of 4 before I turn it off, and I like most of 3, and I like the first one. I don't like 2, but I hate this one. This one really just pissed me off, like pretty much the entire way through.
That is absolutely fair. There's just some moments where you can kind of understand this working in the right hands. Like, we are going full spoilers. Like the thing that breaks Optimus out of his Nemesis Prime,
almost as bad as Martha. Almost as bad as Martha.
It's almost as bad. Like you can kind of understand it making sense, and you see what they were going for, kind of like the Martha thing. But when it's like, oh, Bumblebee, I've not heard you talk since Cybertron fell, except you heard Bumblebee talk at the end of the first movie, and also Bumblebee just talks because the plot requires him to talk. And they even set up the fact that his voice box wasn't working earlier on when they brought that weird Jewish stereotype transformer along. Like who voiced him? I recognise that voice. That scrap dealer. What was his name? He brought the Day Trader. That's the guy's name. Day Trader. What's his name?
Woody Harrelson.
Steve Buscemi.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
He shows up, and you're just like, huh? Like, why? He was there for, 3 seconds, and he never comes back in the plot, does he?
Yeah, he exists to bring along Starscream's head for a bit of fan service, and then Megatron says, oh, my treacherous friend, even though Starscream has been nothing short of loyal to Megatron in this whole franchise. And it's just this stuff that it's not even making sense within its own vaguely established continuity. And yeah, it's so... Where does Grimlock go? He disappears from the film without explanation. When that young Latina 14-year-old girl shows up at the end of the film on that plane, and Kate's like, how did you get here? She literally says, I don't know. How do you not know? This film's not even trying.
Can we talk about the fact that Michael Bay still doesn't have any self-control? It's not as egregious as some of the previous stuff. I'm referring to how he treats women on screen. It's not as egregious as the last movie, where they stopped the movie in its tracks to talk about why it's okay for this 22-year-old man to have relations with a 17-year-old girl because they live in the state of Texas. Yeah. We're not all that creepy, by the way. I live in Texas. I was rather offended, if I may add. Yeah. I'm like, quit making Texans look all creepy and pedophilic. Oh, Jesus.
You're a good human being. You should be offended.
Yeah, I'm like, don't paint Texans like that. We don't all talk like Mark Wahlberg. Oh, I wish. And then this movie, I think it's towards the third act. There's a shot of, I think her name's Isabella with the Z.
Mm-hmm.
There's a shot. Okay, there's a shot of her running up the hill, and the camera's really at a really low angle up towards her, and this, and it's just this really long shot of her running for 5-6 seconds. It's at and then it's just, and it's, of course, it's an IMAX, so it can fill up the entire frame. And I'm like, Michael Bay, do you have any self-control? Do you have any sense of fucking dick? She's 14, Michael Bay.
If he does one more film, there's going to be a scene of a 6-year-old in a crop top.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Every one of these films feels like a dare for him to try and go younger and younger.
It's uncomfortable, and it made me feel nasty.
But you've got Laura Haddock, who's this Oxford history teacher. She's in her early 30s,
right.
so, you know, she's legal, which is fine. But then she dresses up basically like a porn star throughout most of the film. And then there's even though time is of the essence, and there is actually a ticking clock for when the world's going to end, she says, "Oh, I'm going to get changed." And then the next scene, she's in a completely different outfit. And it's not a simple change. This is a elaborate blazer, trouser combination.
I'm like, did you take time to be like, oh, I'm not going to put on like a tracksuit and pants. I'm just like, oh, no, I'm going to take time to redo my makeup and everything. Oh, another Transformers film where the people's makeup doesn't get affected. She doesn't get dirty in the slightest. Here's what I will say, if we're talking about things I liked. Towards the end, there was some action set pieces in that third act where, maybe it's because I saw it on the IMAX screen when Michael Bay actually decided to, use his IMAX. And when they're trying to do the last, thing or whatever, I'm like, the scale in this movie is massive. It might be like the biggest scale Transformers movie we have yet to have. And there are certain points where I'm like, this looks really cool. And there are certain parts where I'm like, that's really sweet. And say for how cheesy it is, but when it's like, when they reveal that Mark Wahlberg is the last knight, okay.
Well, and he is a knight because he hasn't had sex for a long time. That's a plot point.
Yeah, it is.
That actually happens.
Yeah, it is.
There are three screenwriters in this film, and they got paid for that.
They had a whole writer's room, man. They had a whole writer's room. They had Stephen DeKnight, or S. Knight, whatever his name, the Daredevil. They had him there.
S. Knight's the last night.
Oh, God. So, was his contribution to the title? Was that it? Oh, my God.
Probably. But there's the action highlight for me is probably the Optimus Bumblebee fight, even though it lacks that shot of the first trailer where Bumblebee's running towards him, Optimus catches him and slams him into the ground. That shot's not in the film, even though that was like the money shot of the first trailer.
I don't even remember that. I don't even remember that scene.
Yeah, but like it's probably the action highlight. But there's no emotional baggage to it. There's no there's no sense that these are two friends fighting. There's nothing emotionally grounding the scene. There's nothing involved in any of that. So it is just visual noise. There's nothing to it, and it's just something that, this is basically a really, really bad film, even though it's not the worst Transformers film in my opinion. It's still something in a week's time I'm not going to remember any of it. Like, Age of Extinction was just biblically long, and there's the scene where Stanley Tucci goes, "Math algorithms!" and the obnoxious shot where Mark Wahlberg yells at a guy whose car he trashed and then drinks a Bud Light from the ground.
Commercial? That Bud Light commercial, that's a great Bud Light commercial, if I may add.
Or Optimus going, "We are giving you freedom, let me lead you, you will join my family or die," which is a direct quote from Age of Extinction.
And then he just flies for no reason. Like, he's been trapped in, like, on this earth for, like, a year, but then he just goes off and flies. I'm like, if you could fly the whole time, then why didn't you just... Okay.
I know this isn't related to The Last Night, it's related to Age of Extinction, but, like, Ken Watanabe voices Drift, who is a samurai Autobot.
Yeah.
Like, if you've watched like Inception or Godzilla, then you know that Ken Watanabe, who is a Japanese actor, has a Japanese accent, but it's relatively understated. He speaks really good English. Mm-hmm. But in these Transformers films, I'm wondering who is the guy in the voice recording booth telling Ken Watanabe, no, more stereotypically Japanese. Because there's the scene where in Age of Extinction where he's like, "No, that is Optimus Prime." It's like, that is not... That sounds like me being really, really offensive, but that is the accent, and that is the way he says it.
Pretty good interpretation. I feel like it's just Michael Bay. He's next to him, and he's just like, "Asians! Be Asian! Samurai!"
But like, Drift and, what's the name of the guy? Is it Hot Rod?
Is that the one with the trench coat, or the one with John Goodman?
No, Crosshairs, that's the one, voiced by John DiMaggio, who's like, "No bedtime stories," he's green.
Yeah.
Crosshairs and Drift, they're just absent for about a good hour and a half of the film. John Goodman voices the psychotic Call of Duty Transformer, who I guess has all of the ammunition, who is basically a psychopath.
That's
one issue.
Always has a cigar in his mouth from where, I don't know.
That's one overriding issue with the entire franchise, except maybe the first one, arguably, is that all of the Autobots, even though they're the good guys, they're friggin' psychopaths.
Yeah.
They kill everyone, and there's just so much dialogue like, I will kill you, you will die now. It's like, these are the good guys. What's wrong with them? Yeah. Even the butler is a sociopath.
I liked him. He was fun to watch. Yeah.
Felt like he was robot Sherlock, Benedict Cumberbatch.
Essentially. I think that's what they were going for. I thought every scene with him and Anthony Hopkins, I'm like, I could watch this. This part of the movie is
Anthony
terrible.
Hopkins was fun.
Yeah.
Anthony Hopkins was clearly having a fun time and ad-libbing and just insulting people.
I don't know why he was there when they were doing the thing at Stonehenge. Like, he just kind of walks up and then gets shot. Okay. Maybe I missed something.
There's even a couple of things that I think he probably ad-libbed, because there's no way this creative team made lines that funny or clever. Like when they go to the Navy Museum and Mark Wahlberg and Laura Haddock jump over the barriers and run towards him, and the security are like, hey, you've got to pay first. And he's like, no, I'll cover them, they're with me. Sorry, they just really like submarines. I thought that was pretty funny, but that was probably ad-libbed from
I took
Hopkins.
the back entrance. Yeah, they've got one.
Yeah. And he's like, shut up!
There's a good movie in here. This is what I will say. There's a good movie in here. I think you can argue that there's so much you can argue. Alright, so in the trailer, right? Let's get back to this 14-year-old girl, right? In the trailer, right? And she's...
You sound so much like Michael Bay. Alright, let's get back to the 14-year-old girl.
They're on page 40 of the script, and Michael Bay's just like, wait a minute. Where's the 14-year-old girl? Like, you know what? I'm just going to draw the storyboard. It's like, Mr. Bay, this is just a boat the camera point at it. Exactly. And, like, it's, in the trailer, she's like, I want to stay and I want to fight them. That's exactly how she says it. And she's just like, okay, this little girl wants to be a little badass. That's great. We're going to make this little girl be a badass. She does jack all in the entire film. Yeah. She gets a Transformer killed and then she hides the entire. That's all she does. She runs into the Stranger Things kids, which I don't know why they're there. Again, this movie, you could make this, there's a good movie in here somewhere. They're not a part of it, but there's a good movie in there somewhere. And then she saves those kids, gets a really cool looking Transformer killed with a really interesting name. And then
Canopy.
Yeah, I liked Canopy. And then Canopy dies. I'm like, well, there you go. There's that little bit of liking I liked on this frame is now gone. They're no longer in the film. Great, now I've got to watch these idiot kids. And of course, the one kid I'm supposed to try and connect to, the black one, of course, is the loud chubby kid.
I'm gonna hotwire this bitch.
Oh, jeez.
He actually says that.
You know what I do?
This is meant to be a film for kids.
I'll give them this. The nerdy kid in the glasses is very accurate to it's very accurate to how kids like that talk. That's what I will say. And you say you can cut her out of the movie and save like half an hour. Like she doesn't need to be there. She's nice to have that. You can get that kind of nice bonding moment with Mark Wahlberg and his daughter over the phone, which works, I guess. Doesn't really make a lot of sense, but it's a nice moment, I suppose.
They don't follow through on that story arc, because he sends her a text from that soldier's phone on the plane, and then they never come back to it.
No. He just wants to make out with this model that Michael Bay found in the Victoria's Secret vault. I don't know if this girl that Michael Bay guy has been in other things, and if she has, I apologize. But hey, you're the one that
she's like she's in the In-Betweeners movie, which is like one of the most successful British films of all time. Okay. She plays one of the she's meant to be one of the love interests for one of the main cast members. She's also Meredith Quill in the first in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1 and 2.
That's what I know her from. God, it was bothering me all the entire film. Like, have I seen her in anything else? God, she has a pretty good Southern accent. Yeah.
She's also. She's also in the First Avenger. When she's in Captain America: The First Avenger, she's the one where it's during the Star Spangled Man with the Plan song.
Yeah.
The montage, and she asks for the autograph.
Okay. So she's made her rounds. That's good. That's nice. So she might have a future. Mark Wahlberg said this is the last one you're doing. I don't blame him. I would, if I was Mark Wahlberg, I would get as far away from this dumpster fire as I possibly could. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It just seems like he's not been given any directions. He's just like, yeah, well, I'm just going to do whatever the hell I want. I'm just going to play an unhinged character who's not got laid for a while, and that makes me a knight.
They could.
There's the weird organisation called the Witwickens, which is a callback to Sam Witwicky and his family.
So Shia LaBeouf's in the movie for like 3 frames, and they have that picture from the first movie.
It's so weird and out of place, but yeah, they've got that, and this is.
Are they implying that Sam's dead? Is that what they're implying? That Sam Witwicky is gone?
Well, here's the weird thing that I put the dots together for. That I'm probably the only person who cares about this, but goddamn, I'm going to make this point on the record. Anthony Hopkins says, I'm the last surviving member of the Witwickens, this organisation who has to protect the descendant of Merlin, who has to keep Transformers safe, and yada yada yada. He says, I'm the last surviving member, and we had people involved like Abraham Lincoln, like Winston Churchill, like all these other people. And then he name drops Stephen Hawking. Stephen Hawking is currently alive. Stephen Hawking is 75 years old, and he is still very much... Why? I know that people are saying this could take place in an alternative world where, yes, Stephen Hawking could be dead, but it's... He's someone who is still very much culturally relevant.
In my universe, Trillbee, this movie's just set in the far-flung future where Shia LaBeouf has become Anthony Hopkins. There, that's your explanation. It's set in the future, and so that's why like Anthony Hopkins can be like, no. It's like, oh, it's just Sam Witwicky. There, it's Ladies Man 217.
But there's the big thing about The Last Night is that Optimus Prime turns evil, but he's only in about 10% of the movie. He's hardly involved. He doesn't really do all that much villainous. He's called Nemesis Prime. And
that was so... I think I audibly went awesome. There are a couple of points where I just kept going, great. Sure. I am Nemesis Prime. All right. Sure.
He's been hypnotized by Quintessa, who's voiced by Gemma Chan. Who's actually a really awesome, talented actress who's just completely wasted here, because Quintessa has nothing to do in terms... Like, there's no action sequence revolving around her, it's like she's just a nothing villain, and Megatron is also a nothing villain who gets...
What else is new?
Well, and he's basically like, we were brothers once. I was like, yeah, you've not communicated that like at all through good storytelling in 5 movies. And there's even the weird sequence where he negotiates the release of some Decepticons.
God. When they rip off Suicide Squad?
Yeah. And they have like vague racial stereotypes of these guys who have been released from prison, because, you know, if you're going to be released from prison, of course you've got traditionally black archetypes. It's like, that's a nice bit of casual racism there, Michael Bay, as you do. This is just such a hodgepodge. There's so much to it, and yet there's nothing here to leave a lasting impact. Stanley Tucci is Merlin, which was random.
I thought
John Turturro has nothing to do.
I'll tell you what, man. Stanley Tucci has continued to prove to me that he can be in anything, and I will watch him for hours. I could have watched Stanley Tucci cringe his way through that crap Bay dialogue for hours. He was the best part of the last movie, and he's one of the highlights of this one. Say what you will, but he's not on screen for long. But I thought it was him too. When he showed up, I was like, "Is that Stanley? Why?" But okay.
Yep.
And then the credits, it was like Stanley Tucci. I'm like, all right, okay, great.
Yeah, that must have been him.
Yeah, I thought he was. It was an awkward time to put all those jokes in, like this really Game of Thrones-esque, though oddly beautifully shot IMAX. King Arthur War was happening, and then Stanley Tucci as Merlin comes in, and I think his first line is "I'm absolutely maggot" or something like that.
Yeah. I'm slozzled or something,
slotched or whatever. And then he goes and he's like, "I'll give up the drinking and the whatever and I'll take up the drinking," which I thought was a fun joke. I laughed. Yeah.
Well, we've got also, there's a weird subplot where John Turturro is in Cuba, and there's a really strange bit of exposition where Anthony Hopkins is doing a voiceover, keep getting the audience up to speed since the events of the last film, And he's like, Transformers are now outlawed. Pause. Except in Cuba, where they are being where they're being looked after, and it's just a bunch of Autobots playing football in the sunset.
I thought that was fun.
And it's, yeah, but it's like you have this. Why are the Autobots here and not helping?
Yeah.
What are they? Why
It's
is there
not
no scene
it's
of,
not
like,
needed. You don't need to have it there. But I think honestly, what it is, I think Michael Bay just wanted to get an IMAX camera down in Cuba. Because I remember he was talking about...
he wanted the tax breaks.
Yeah, he was like, we're shooting in Cuba, guys. And it's all, I think John Turturro is another highlight of these movies. Just because I think, you want to talk about somebody not caring and just having fun on set, he's always been a highlight of these movies for me. He's another guy I could watch all day. When they took him out in the third movie, I was a little sad. So I'm glad he was back for as little briefly as it was. I do kind of like that he was having a basketball game or whatever, or football, I guess it was, with that one Autobot, and he's like, I'll be right there in a second, and he's clearly become best friends with these Autobots. I thought that was cute. It was kind of fun. But you could, like I said, as always, the movie's like an hour too long, so you could cut a lot of it, including the Cuba stuff. You can cut out the kid stuff. You can cut out everything with Isabella. You can cut out most of the stuff with Josh Duhamel. Like maybe, like, you know what? Cut out Mark Wahlberg. Make Josh Duhamel the main character. And simple, make it Josh Duhamel and Anthony Hopkins, and that be the characters you follow.
I mean, I understand, like, business-wise, the main reason you get the Army and his character and everything is these Transformers films is so that you can get subsidiaries from the US government to portray the US military in a positive light. That's not a criticism, but that is literally half of the financing of these Transformers films. Mm-hmm. So I understand why you've got to have it, but then, because this is not a Transformers film, this is Mark Wahlberg and Laura Haddock going on a scavenger hunt.
Yeah.
This is... And occasionally Bumblebee is walking behind them in the background.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've just got this property and this massive amount of resources and these IMAX cameras and 3D and this army of special effects technicians at your beck and call, and you've got no story you're clearly passionate in telling. I'm just so apathetic to this franchise at this point. It's... There's just nothing here, even though we are going to talk about it for probably like another 20 minutes, because we also have to deal with the fact that the planet Earth is the Transformer Unicron.
Oh, that's right.
Which is pretty cool, but Transformers Prime, the TV series, did it, and did it better.
Also, they didn't earn to use, like, I'm not a big Transformers fan. I didn't grow up watching and obsessing over the Transformers. I know who Unicron is, but, like, you can't... Can we talk about how... Okay, so first of all, in a very weird, not Michael Bay move, like, it was odd to me that Optimus Prime spoke, and we panned up, and then it didn't cut to a black screen with end credits over, like, a soft rock song. Like, that, I don't know, like, I thought it was a weird staple that wasn't there. We just cut to sand and some credits. Odd, terrible-looking credits, by the way. Just little nitpick. Odd, terrible looking
the budget
credits.
ran out.
Apparently, they're $250 million. Also couldn't afford After Effects. It's so... And then we pan up, and it's just desert, whatever. And it's like, and the Asian lady, Unicron wouldn't like that. What? Black. And then the rock song starts. I'm like, what? Christian was already out the door by that point. He took off. He saw it directed by Michael Bay and took off. He couldn't do it anymore.
Basically, guys in a boardroom said, we need one of them post-credit scenes because that's what other kids are into. But it's a Transformers film. The audience that we're pandering to does not have the attention span for a post-credit scene. So let's put directed by Michael Bay and then bam, the post-credit scene.
I think they have plenty of attention. I mean, everyone sits through the Marvel end credit scenes. You know what I'm saying?
But those films aren't 2.5 hours long.
Some of them are.
Follow,
yeah,
so
some are like 225.
And
that's my thing. I think Michael Bay knew that his movie was trash. It's not that people didn't want to sit through, or it's not that people couldn't. People didn't want to, because people will sit through a 229-minute Civil War film. People will sit through a 2.5-hour film if they like it. But if it's not good, then and Michael Bay knows that it's not good. You know what I'm saying?
Nah, but maybe. But I will say that one other positive thing about The Last Night is that I'm interested in the status quo that it leaves behind, where Cybertron and Earth are now like bonded together, and that they have to kind of fix both both planets, because it is weird though, because when the scientists are doing their exposition, they're saying initial impact will just destroy major cities, tens of millions of lives will be lost, and then once the final battle's done, they're still treating it like a happy ending. Even though we didn't see it, but we were told that tens of millions of people will die.
No, that's all these movies, isn't it? All these movies are like...
basically.
We're like, we saved the day, and then you look behind, there's just a fireball behind them, and it's just like, the day's been saved.
There's a great moment in the Nostalgia Critics review of Man of Steel where they're like, "Oh, you saved us," and they're just in the destroyed metropolis. And Nostalgia Critic says, "Could you say that in a place that doesn't look so 9/11?" And
That's a great line.
And I'm looking back on that quote and thinking, yeah, this is like 9/11 times 1,000. Yes, 91,100. If you've seen Team America World Police.
If I said it doesn't look so 9/11. Oh my god. Oh yeah, I love nostalgia.
But yeah, even though I know they're going to do nothing with it, I do like the status quo now, where the two worlds are like joined together, but they have to figure out a way to stop Unicron. Like they've actually done something decent in terms of pacing this franchise, where yes, we've established in the 5th film that Earth is Unicron and he's now rising up, and then the 6th film is trying to stop him. They better get one hell of a voice actor to voice Unicron though. Because before in the 80s film, it was Orson Welles, and that's going to be one hell of an act to follow. I would say Anthony Hopkins, but
George Lucas.
Hey, I'm gonna destroy Cybertron.
Optimus, can you? We're gonna put some CG rocks there. Can you? Thank you. Yeah. I need a Coke Zero.
Megatron. Megatron, can you witness Earth's dismemberment?
Optimus, you're fine. I need you to be faster and more intense, please. I'm not feeling it from you. Okay, all right. Action. Sip my coffee.
Yeah, it's like
he has a giant metallic cup of coffee.
It's like you've got Cybertron and Earth together. It's like poetry. It's like they rhyme.
Everything's in a circle, like the planets. You know, it's all aligned. It's okay. All right. All right.
No, say I will not betray the Republic. So, George Lucas, we do love you, but you're easy to make fun of.
Starscream's the key to all of this.
So, there probably is like 1,000,001 other things to say because this. Hot Rod for some reason has a strange French accent and talks like Pepe Le Pew.
That's right.
What else do we have here? Because I'm just going through the Wikipedia article. Because we've got a submarine transformer, but we never see it transform. So what's the point?
Yep.
What have we got? Stonehenge is involved because they need iconography.
Yeah, they need something else that was created by Transformers. When it happened, I was like, all right, sure, duh. If the pyramids were built by Transformers and the moon landing was for Transformers, and what was the plot of the 4th one? Dinosaurs were Transformers, and what was the other thing?
China was Transformers.
The Hoover Dam was Transformers. Everything's just Transformers. It rhymes. Whatever. Yep. Sure. Anything else you need to add, Trillbee? We'll make this a shorter episode. Anything else you want to add, Trillbee?
I'm just looking. Nothing I can think of. There probably is more, but like I said, I'm just apathetic to this franchise now. My ranking for the franchise, because I don't think any of them are particularly good. I think the best one's Dark of the Moon because it's got that hour-long climax, which is genuinely impressive and actually pretty well paced.
It's got I think the great bit on the highway.
Yeah, that highway sequence is probably the highlight of the entire franchise.
Yeah, it's really good. I think the music in part 3 is really strong. I don't know. I think in terms of part 3, if any of them were to get a good score, I think part 3 gets like a 7. That's just me.
I think I gave it a 6, which is something I do stand by.
Yeah.
And so the best one's Dark of the Moon. Second best is Transformers, the first one.
The first one has nostalgic value for me. I watch it as every time I watch it, I'm like, I'm 7 again, and I'm watching Optimus Prime blow up Decepticons on a bridge and blow up buses, and there's some good bits in the first one.
Well, the first one does have an actual through line, even though I don't think the through line is very good or well thought out. It is kind of like if Steven Spielberg just did a load of speed and made a movie.
Yeah.
It is sort of like a boy in his car, and he also wants to bang this girl.
Yeah.
Even though it's meant to be a film for kids. And then, so
well,
third
it's
one's
about
The Last Night. Even
you can look at it as a coming-of-age story about a guy who transformers, and by the end he becomes this confident. He becomes a confident guy. He gets the girl at the end, and Bumblebee let's Shia LaBeouf have sex on his hood, which is best friend points. If a metallic hand came out and fist bumped at Shia LaBeouf, I would not be surprised. And and you have the Optimus Prime build up, and the first one has a lot of good bits in it.
Yeah, it also feels like it is the most restrained. It does feel like the most methodically paced in a good way. Yeah, there's even they go to the big final battle at the end, but then they're intercepted by a Decepticon on the highway, which takes out Optimus Prime. Optimus has to have this separate fight on the highway while they go into the city, so that explains why he's not there for the. It's an awesome moment where the Decepticon crashes through the bus in slow motion and tackles Optimus on the highway.
It's a real bus that they blow up too, and it looks great. There are a lot of real stunts that they did in the movie with when they're running in the sand. And Scorponok comes out behind them. They actually blew up all that sand and had the actors running after the sand. Yeah. When Shia LaBeouf gets knocked off the boat, and they actually had him. They actually had him. What ingenious concoction is that? A Shia LaBeouf and Michael Bay love child. It's just this. It's just this walking explosion that doesn't want to be a walking explosion. No, but it's.
And every time it explodes, it goes no. So it's like no. It's just perpetually exploding.
No, just a bunch of fireballs. They actually had Shia LaBeouf stand on top of that giant building he gets knocked off of. There was a lot of good, real, practical effects mixed with CG in that movie.
And then, the third film's Last Night. Fourth best, or the second worst, is Revenge of the Fallen. Really? And the worst. Yeah, and the worst is Age of Extinction. And the main reason Age of Extinction is the worst is because Dinobots don't show up until 2.25 hours in.
2:20 until 2:25 into the movie. That's unacceptable.
The pandering to China is just so... It just makes you realise this film is just an absolute product. It's not a film, it's a product. Whereas Revenge of the Fallen was obviously a huge... one of the reasons that film is just terrible is because of the writer's strike, which severely hampered it, but it still is... It's no excuse. It is just still absolutely terrible. It's because the CGI is not great in many of the shots. There are some shots where the Transformers are outright missing. But I think Age of Extinction, it is also the longest, which is why it's the worst for me.
It's weird because each film kind of has its own look to it. I don't know, maybe because they keep getting different cinematographers, but Revenge of the Fallen to me, it's a shame because it might be the one I think that, in my opinion, has some of the best looking cinematography, but at the same time, it's the one that feels most Michael Bay to me. I think that's why it's my least favorite, and up until this one. It's the one that's always felt so Michael Bay to me. It's just there's a bunch of slow motion, there's a lot of hot girls. The plotline they spend maybe 20 minutes on is just a Decepticon trying to seduce Sam, and then but my question is how far was that going to go before the Decepticon turns into a robot? He's got you locked in the dorm room. You guys are gonna start making hanky panky. Why not just kill him there? But no, we have to see the panties shot and the tail come out. It doesn't. It's awful, and everything about it just really irks me the wrong way. Not to mention it had the hype of. This was before we had established the trend of good trailers to bad movies and Transformers, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Because that kind of started the trend of, what a fantastic teaser trailer. It looks like this really dark Empire Strikes Back-esque, oh my god, it's about to go down, it just got real, oh my god, people are dying, what is this? And it's Transformers June, and let's go! And then you watch it, and this has nothing to do with anything.
But just to let you know, all of the films have different cinematographers, except for Dark of the Moon of Age of Extinction, where the cinematography was done by Amir Mokri. Okay. So they do have
3 looks really
different
good.
Cinematographers.
3 has a very nice. 3 has a really, I don't know, bluish tint to it.
3 is 3 is the only film, except for moments of the first one, where I feel like the scale is felt and not just seen.
Yeah.
Like when Shockwave is destroying the building in Chicago, and they're in the building as it's toppling over, you feel the scale.
Well, I think that's in part
falling.
to the mixture of practical and CG effects. They actually had the actor sliding down this giant platform. And that's why everyone that says, these are the worst movies of all time, each one gets a 0, I'm like, you have to acknowledge that there are certain things that each film does that you can at least find some quality in. And I think that 3 is a prime example of that.
I've not given any of the Transformers films 0 stars. I gave Age of Extinction half a star, and I'm going to give Last Night 1 out of 5, 1 star, but because there's no film in this franchise that has no redeeming qualities, even if they are in the end terrible films. Yeah. They're technically competent for or at least there are moments of technical competency or good performances or moments that do make you laugh, even if you're laughing at the film and not with it.
If you guys want a nice time, you should watch the second trailer to the third movie. That's a really good, if there was I remember someone's making a list of the best movie trailers, making a list of the top 10 best movie trailers. I think the theatrical trailer for Dark of the Moon is one of the best trailers out there. You guys, everyone who
is that the trailer? Is that the trailer that was
yeah, and and the music's building, and everyone's really dramatic. It's it's over, and you're it just keeps building, and then it ends, and we get a shot of the building tipping over. You're like, what? And it's Transformers July. And you're like, oh my god, yeah, it's that trailer.
Well, I know that it's it's all said and done, so it's kind of in the past now. But the Last Night marketing campaign hasn't been that good. No. The trailers haven't. No. And this isn't me just going, the franchise has burned me so many times that I just can't get into it. I can watch the trailers for Age of Extinction, Revenge of the Fallen, Dark of the Moon, and really, really think that the trailers are terrific and that they're much better than the films themselves. Yeah. But for the Last Night, there's just nothing. There's not really been anything on offer, really, in terms of the marketing. I'm actually just going to watch that Dark of the Moon trailer now as we talk, because that is terrific. It's
a good trailer, and it reminds me a lot of the Watchmen trailer of I want to see that movie. And I think I think that trailer's pretty representative of the movie we end up getting. I don't know, maybe the world should probably revisit Dark of the Moon, because you're right. I think it's a solid flick. Oh god, that shot when Optimus flies in, as the music is just, and he does the famous "let's spin around and shoot some stuff and blow stuff up." Michael Bay, have you?
And then Bumblebee comes in, flips over and catches the two guys off the side of the building,
and the cars crash and trains.
The cars collide.
Yeah.
Which is awesome in the film as well. That
Michael,
when Ironhide
you see Shia LaBeouf pointing a gun at somebody, you're like, "What is this?" Oh, it looks really What would you say you gave it? You gave it 1 star, right?
The Last Night.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's actually a really good line in the Dark of the Moon trailer. You may lose faith in us, but never in yourselves.
Yeah, that's a good line. There's a good moment when they have to leave, so they have to leave Earth, quote unquote leave Earth. It's telegraphed as hell that they're not going to leave Earth because it's a movie, but it's a good scene. Good use of slow motion. I give it a 3 out of 10. So I'm at that's a 1.
I thought you were going to give it 3 out of 5 then, because that's my rating system.
Yeah, no, 3 out of 10, which is a 1.5 stars out of 5. So I guess I liked it a little more than you did. I liked more of it than you did, but I still hate
Which is really strange because the way you were talking about it before we started reviewing it, I thought I was going to be the one who liked it
more.
But
in my opinion, a 1 is the worst movie I've ever seen. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I work on a 0 star. Yeah. The 0 stars are possible with my rating system,
if Tusk gets a 0, The Last Airbender gets a 1. In terms of some of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life.
That is fair.
Here's how bad this movie is, guys. I'd rather sit down and watch Batman v Superman. That's just that if that doesn't speak to the quality of this film, I don't know what does, because I hate that.
See, if someone pointed a gun at me and said, "Trillbee, you must watch either Transformers: The Last Night or Batman v Superman," my first response would be to say, "You have a gun to me, and those are the 2 options. What are your priorities?
You may fire when ready."
And secondly, I would take the gun and finish the job myself.
I'm like, let me do it,
Neither
please.
of those things.
It's like Get Out. Let me do it.
Well, like I think I gave Batman v Superman half a star, and I'd give Last Night 1 star. So technically, I maybe preferred this to Batman v Superman, but it's still 2.5 friggin' hours long.
Yeah, but so
it's
is
the
this.
length. It's the length that kind of made me dread watching the film. Yeah. But I will say
at least Batman Superman has like good music. You got some good Batfleck stuff. Some of the shots kind of look okay, I guess. Even though Zack Snyder should be making beautiful movies, he has stopped making beautiful movies, and that concerns me.
But I'm looking forward to. Well, I say looking forward to in relative terms. The Bumblebee film next year, because Kubo and the Two Strings director Travis Knight is involved. Haley Steinfeld's going to lead, and I think that you could do a much better stripped down story where it is a girl and her car. It's set in the 1980s, and Bumblebee is going to be a Beetle car. I think something where Michael Bay's sensibilities aren't all over this franchise, you could. I think that maybe the damage to this franchise has already been done if the initial box office takings are to be.
This might be like
taken.
First Class. Like the Bumblebee movie might be the First Class, where it doesn't do great financially, but it's critically praised, and those who have seen it like it, and so it kind of gets the franchise back on track. That being said, Here's my question now for you though, Trillbee. Since we've officially reached the law of diminishing returns, this movie will definitely make. It's probably most likely going to be the lowest grossing of the entire series. Worldwide and domestically, probably. My question for you is, it's probably going to get a sequel, obviously, but what do you think the plans for, because originally I think Transformers like 6, 7, whatever were all like, it was they had plans for like 2 more. Do you think we're going to get 2 more of these?
I think you do 1 more film to tie up the Unicron loose ends and everything, because I think Unicron is a character who is worthy of the big screen, but he's also worthy of the 6-film build-up.
This film did establish some good mythology. I mean, by starting the film by going like, "What's the world like without Optimus Prime?" That's a cool question to ask. The answer is boring.
It just spends so much time like removed from that world, because we're just following these 2 people going on a scavenger hunt. It just doesn't make the most of that premise, which, like, there's good ideas here. You just need a filmmaker who gives a shit about them in order to see them through. So I think because I want to see Unicron on the big screen. They've set him up, so the next film is as good a time as any to do it. But if you were to reboot the franchise, you don't start off with Unicron. Like, it's selfish reasons, but I think they should do 1 more film, get rid of Michael Bay, get another filmmaker in, please, someone who gives a shit. And I think Michael Bay, maybe he smells the change in the air with the box office. And he's got enough money. He's made Paramount Pictures so much money over the past decade, he could probably do whatever film he wants with that studio. And if he wants to do that path and do whatever he wants, he has earned it in terms of Hollywood kudos. Because you may say whatever you want about his films, there's no drama surrounding him. From what I can tell, he's good to work with on set. He comes in under budget, on time. He makes the money. He makes the films. So, relatively speaking, so I think he can do whatever he wants. And get a new director in to do Unicron, last film in the franchise, then reboot it in a couple of years' time. Get that writer's room concept going, and make grandiose space opera sci-fi.
Because it works so well this time around. That script was fantastic.
Well, I think they were going to do the writers' room, and then Michael Bay kind of hijacked it and said, "Actually, no, I want to do another."
There's
film.
A great Robot Chicken sketch about the Transformers 5 script that came out a year ago.
I've seen it.
Oh my god, it's
amazing,
perfect. It's like Drake. It's like, we're not in the festive mood, sir.
Let's see how.
God. It's so accurate. That's exactly how it went down, Trillbee. You can't tell me it didn't. Oh my god.
Yeah, well, in a year's time, we'll have seen the Bumblebee movie. That comes out on June 8th.
Oh wow.
And then in another year's time, on June 28th, we've got Transformers 6.
Okay.
So after that, let's just reboot this franchise. Like, give it a couple of years to develop scripts and stories and new technologies to put on the big screen. Let's let the animosity towards the franchise die down a bit. Give it like how long between Revenge of the Sith and The Force Awakens?
10
like
years.
12 years?
10 years.
10, 11 years. Yeah, give it time.
Yeah, right.
And
Paramount doesn't have any other franchises, Trillbee.
Which is true, but you give it that, maybe not 10 years, but you give it a couple of years break so that you can work on these scripts, because the scripts are the pre-production phase of any movie is always the cheapest phase.
Yeah.
It's when you have the cameras rolling and you have crews of 50, 60, 70, 100 people on set every day that you have to pay, where the money really starts going out of control. Mm-hmm. So you just focus on the pre-production more, and the planning and the franchise building. That's obviously Paramount is a multi-million billion-dollar company, and it's not going to be listening to me, but that's the advice I'd give. What about you? You asked the question. Did you have something in mind?
I think Michael Bay. If this movie had opened with Age of Extinction numbers, because Age of Extinction opened at about 100 million in the U.S. opening weekend.
That was a controversial story.
Yeah.
Because there was talk of, if it doesn't make $100 million, then people are going to get fired at Paramount. And then there was talk of the box office numbers being artificially inflated. That they were saying that it actually made around 90 million, but they did something with the metrics, so it made 100 million. So they kind of forced it to make $100 million in its opening weekend, so that people wouldn't get fired.
It still made more than this.
Yes.
My point is that I think, if this had done Age of Extinction numbers, Michael Bay probably would have came back and let's make another $1 billion film. But you're right. He clearly does see. He probably does sense the sense of, I can't just make trash films. I guess I should probably go. And he has come out and said that this is his last film, like he does every time. He does that. He's done every movie since the third, or maybe even the second one. Mark Wahlberg's not going to be back, so I don't know how you do the Unicron story arc and not. I guess you just don't have the last night in it, apparently, because that's not going to be important anymore. I guess I don't know. I feel like if Transformers 6 comes out and is good, it'll do well. But if it's bad, then we will not be getting another one of these. Especially, I don't have any faith in Bumblebee, just because these other films have not been great. And sometimes it's been proven that sometimes it's not just a matter of changing director. Sometimes it's a studio-based problem. And I'm not per se thinking that Paramount's a terrible studio and doesn't work with their filmmakers well. I'm just saying, looking at other franchises, DC, for example, when they switched directors and went from Zack Snyder to David Ayer, the results were not better. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. I'm being trepidatious. I'll believe it when I see it. Even if the trailer's good, I'll believe it on June 7th when I see it.
Well, that trepidation for Bumblebee is absolutely fair. I'm just being maybe...
Kubo and the Two Strings was one of my favorite films, favorite anime films of the last few years. Kubo was fantastic. But at the same time, Travis Knight is a Leica veteran. That's his baby. They've clearly been establishing and working on that for ages, and that's something that's a passion project. I don't know if Bumblebee's a passion project for him. Haley Steinfeld for me hasn't been good at a movie since True Grit. I haven't seen Edge of 17 yet. Apparently she's good in that, so there you go. But
she is.
I haven't seen her be good in anything since True Grit. So.
But what the narrative that I'm worried will happen is that the Bumblebee movie will either be good and not make any money, or be bad and also not make any money, or something like that. And then the sixth one will come out without Michael Bay, and the box office takes another dip. And then all of a sudden you have this narrative of, Michael Bay is coming back for Transformers 7 to save the franchise.
That won't happen.
I'm worried that might happen. So... are we done with Transformers for now? Until this time next year, where we talk about Bumblebee?
Yeah, let's just drop it. Yeah, let's do what Mr. Sunny Movies did and just forget about Transformers for the rest of our days. Alright, Trillbee. Let's get to listener questions.
Excuse me! I'd like to ask you a few questions!
Alright, guys, this is the listener question portion of the show. Kids can answer listener questions on the Facebook page. Finally. God, that took forever. Alright, I finally got that. I finally got that intro right. Joel, do you have a Facebook page open up, or shall I?
Yeah, you go first. I'm just opening up the page now. We've just been watching a Transformer on YouTube.
Okay. Nathan Snyder on Facebook asks, best experience in a theater.
I'm actually not, because our audiences in the UK are relatively low key. We don't clap at the end of our films. We just sit there silently for the most part and enjoy the movie. So there's not
Note to self: never go to the movies with Trillbee because I'll be given strange looks when something happens. I'm like, that's awesome, and everyone's just like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm like, I like the movie. I'm clapping. They're like, but no one's here. I'm like, yeah, but well, shut up.
That's a fair response. But off the top of my head, I can't think of anything. But if you want to go with your answer, I might think of something in the meantime.
I mean, not a lot beats the build up to The Force Awakens, just because that was like a worldwide cultural phenomenon of like the build up to the Star Wars being back, to all the commercials with the makeup and the toys, and I remember being in the I remember sitting at my dad's Wi-Fi-less apartment and having the Star Wars tickets go on sale and having to struggle through waiting the crashed ticket sites to get my tickets for Star Wars, and then the 2-month build up after that to counting down on my teacher's chalkboard or whiteboard, if you will, being like 30 days till Star Wars, and then getting into the theater on the Friday night in my suit and fedora with a lightsaber in my hand, sitting down in the IMAX, having the lights fade after the Batman Superman trailer, sure, having the lights fade down, and then just a long time ago, yeah, it's far, far away, and then getting the crawl and the IMAX. Not a lot beats those moments of anticipation between a long time ago and the opening crawl. That 3-second build-up took forever. But at the same time, in a kind of completely opposite light, when I went and saw Godzilla again at the IMAX, seeing Godzilla was unexpectedly one of the best times I've ever had the movie, because I didn't realize how ravenous Godzilla fans are, but my god, they are so easily excitable. And when you see a movie in IMAX, at least here in the States, they will have this countdown of 9, 8, and the screen gets bigger, and they're like, experience the movie the way it was meant to be seen, IMAX. But when the IMAX logo came up, you could hear the Godzilla roar. It's you had the 11.1 surround sound that IMAX has, and you just heard the Godzilla roar, and people started clapping and cheering. I'm like, I'm in for a treat. The movie was really good. And so that was one of the best going experiences I've had. I'm thinking. A lot of the Marvel movies have a lot of good experiences. The first Avengers was an anomaly because it was, again, a movie that you're like, I didn't... Oh, sorry, hit my stand here. Was I didn't expect the Avengers to be the Avengers, because it wasn't anything back then. It was just a series of pretty good Marvel movies that are building to something. It didn't become the Marvel Cinematic Universe until the Avengers came out, you know what I mean? And it was just this odd thing of, I can't believe we're watching I was watching things that I'd done in comic books and video games for 8 years at that point, because it was 2012, 8 years at that point, and I was finally getting to see that on the big screen. And then that would just amplify when Civil War came out. Civil War changed the game, that airport sequence, and then having Spider-Man show up. I talk about it all the time, but when Iron Man's to Black Widow, he's like, where's yours? And she's downstairs. He's like, where's yours? And then it cuts to Queens, and the whole theater just erupted in thunderous applause. It was so beautiful. I was confused for 2 seconds. I'm like, why are people? Oh my god, it's Spider-Man! And so my clapping came 2 seconds late, and then I remember, so there are a lot of good moments. I haven't had any DC movie going experiences where I'm Dark Knight. I'll always remember watching The Dark Knight, but yeah, there are a lot of movie going experiences. Did I tell you on the podcast what my first movie I ever saw in the theater was? I remember. The first movie I ever remember seeing in its entirety in a movie theater. Mm-hmm. It's Mike Myers' Cat in the Hat.
Oh god.
That's my first time. Because I remember bits and pieces of Spider-Man, but I remember the entirety of Cat in the Hat. And so, I remember the trailers for the live action Peter Pan with Jason Isaacs. I remember the Shrek 2 trailer. I remember all of that. I remember You're Fired, hand sanitizer, Universal. I remember all of that very clearly. I had Cat in the Hat gummies. I was excited that day, and I really liked that movie. Everyone laughed at Dirty Hell, and I had no idea why. I do now.
one random you brought up Avengers. That's probably one of my favourite movie-going experiences ever, because me and a bunch of friends, we all went to see it, and then some more friends from university also went to see it, and it was a packed screening, and we were just laughing at some of the awesome jokes. When Hulk smashes Loki, we were laughing so hard. Classic. We never actually heard him say puny god at the end.
No one ever did, yeah.
And there was also... there's the moment where the tensions are starting to build on the helicarrier, and they say, and then Hulk's like, "Oh, you want to know my secret? You want to know how I stay calm?" And then Steve Rogers says, "Dr. Banner, put down the scepter."
Yeah.
And then he looks down and he realizes that he's holding it. Then the screen went to black, and the words "intermission" came up, because this was a ye olde movie theater that actually had a projector and had to swap the reels.
That's a nice way to stop the movie. That's a nice place to stop the movie.
It was a good cliffhanger, but then the audience just went, "Oh!" Yeah. But then we were fine. Then we just went out and bought a second load of popcorn.
Yeah. That's actually pretty
another
sweet.
one.
It's like Dr. Banner, put down the scepter, end of Act 1. You know what I'm saying? It's like a watching the play.
That was a good one, but like 2012, that had awesome like movie going experiences for me. Like when when Skyfall came out, I went to see it at the Futurist in Scarborough, which is now like shut down, unfortunately. But it's like a big theatre stage, but they put a screen down over the stage so that they can project films on it. And because of the size of the building, it is technically the biggest single cinema screen in the entire country. You can fit about 2,000 people in that screen.
Yeah.
So we got 2,000 people in to watch Skyfall, and we had a red carpet out. There were people selling James Bond branded cologne and beer and wine.
Skyfall
and
was
like,
a big deal over there. I remember that. Yeah.
It was the 50th anniversary of the franchise. It was like massive. It was the highest grossing British film ever.
It was a good
before
movie.
The Force Awakens came along.
All the buzz around it was fantastic. Yeah.
But I also remember going out of my way to avoid Adele's Skyfall theme song.
Oh, you lucky bastard.
And then when he falls into the water and those first opening chords on the piano play, Goosebumps was immense.
And the piano kicks
another
in.
One,
yeah.
Another one which is random is that another one in 2012. You know the film Lawless?
Yeah, with Tom Hardy, Shia LaBeouf.
Tom Hardy. Yeah. I thought it was a really good film.
Yeah, it's okay.
I rang up because the cinema has a really, really bad website, and it was like, "Oh, we're showing Lawless today." Oh, what time are you showing Lawless today? Oh, okay, then I guess. So I rang up and they said, "Oh, it's playing at 7:30." So I show up at 7:15, ready to get my ticket, and they said, "Oh no, it's not starting until 8." So, oh, you bloody liars! This is why I've got trust issues.
So you just sit here for 45 minutes, yeah.
Well, that would have been the case, but I turn up because this place was another theatre, but it had a theatre stage and it also had a cinema screen. So I was just waiting in the waiting room by the open bar, and there's this woman there who's knitting. This woman in her late 50s.
Trillbee, can I stop you for a quick second? When you say you were, like when you said you sit there by the bar, I don't know why I immediately imagined you like in the 1950s in like a cap and like a trench coat, like
it's all black and white.
Yeah, like a black and white, like you've got like a glass of whiskey in your hand, and the music's just like and it's like, and I saw
how did I get here? Knitting. I saw Transformers. Yeah, it made me drink.
Yeah, like you're just kind of sitting there. It's like, what you waiting for? Lawless. It's like. Some say they don't know when the movie's going to start, you know. And, like, the guy's just, like, cleaning glasses.
Some say it starts at 7:30. Some say it starts at 8.
My nan says it starts at 9, but I don't believe my nan. Anyways, let's finish your story. The lady was knitting.
So, there was this woman knitting, and I'm sat near her. And she's like, "Are you here for the knitting club?" And I say, "No, I'm here to see the movie." But I turned up early, and she's like, "Oh well, I'm just here knitting because the local theatre's doing a production of the Snow Queen, and we're doing some knitted icicles for the stage." And then one thing led to another, and half an hour later, I'm knitting icicles for this while I'm waiting for the film to start.
That's incredible. I thought that was going somewhere else completely.
No, I joined a local knitting club for one night before I saw Lawless.
That reminds me of the time I was a Girl Scout for 2 hours. That reminds me. I had friends, and I had a friend, and she was a Girl Scout, and I was over there. I was like 9 or 10, and we were and she was like, oh, on the way home, and like I guess she stopped to help some Girl Scouts out. She's already in her uniform, and they just like handed me an extra shirt, so I just put one on. I just had a little C class, which is the civilian class, Girl Scout T-shirt. And I just had it on, and I was selling cookies. And I got home, and she was like, "What'd you do today?" My mom was like, "What you doing?" I was like, "I was a Girl Scout for a couple hours." And I love telling that story out of context, being like, "It reminds me when I was a Girl Scout for a couple hours. I sold some cookies next to a Walmart. Those Thin Mints went fast." Do they have Girl Scouts in the UK?
Yes, we do. Yeah.
Okay, good.
The boys are called Cub Scouts, but I can't remember what the girls are called.
Okay, right on. Yeah, another one of my favorite movie going experiences, a more recent one. There's a cinema here in town that specifically shows art house pictures, and I always go there to watch my Oscar flicks. And we were, and I think I've talked about this on the show, but me and Christian were like, yeah, I mean, we've heard nothing but fantastic things about this musical with Ryan Gosling, so let's go see it. And I was like, yeah, there's a 2:45 with the blah 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 for La La Land. And so we went into La La Land, and I can't think of a movie that's had me more enthralled for so long than Like, everything about La La Land just had me just... I'm talking about the movie, not the movie itself, but the theater itself. The theater was nice. You know, it was a classier theater, so they didn't allow children in. So it was just a bunch of people sitting silently, knowing how to sit there and watch a movie. And just the everything about the way we were seated, the screen, that's my favorite theater in town right now. There was nothing too flashy or spectacular about it. It was just a really good time at the movies, and it reminded me of why I love going to the movies in the first place. I don't know, yeah. Just, I mean, to watch that lovely night sequence, you know, without ever knowing what it is, you know, they're dancing in the street for the first time. Whenever someone's like, oh, I haven't seen La La Land, I'm like, oh, you're so lucky. I'm like, oh, you get to watch that sequence for the first time. Yeah. All right, we spent a lot of time on one question.
Yeah, but it's a good question.
Yeah, it's a good question. I love telling stories about going to the movies. Do you have a question, Trillbee?
Just looking through. Okay, so Seb PD asks, "What are your hopes for The Incredibles 2?"
Capes. Everybody has
actually
capes.
Happens.
Well, it's out next year, isn't it? Everybody has capes. I rewatched The Incredibles like a week and a half ago. God, that's a good movie. Like, that's a really good movie. And you know what doesn't get enough credit? Everyone loves Michael Giacchino's score for all his, like his scores in his movies, but his Pixar stuff does not get enough love. The Incredibles score is damn good. I'm not just talking about
hardcore jazz.
Yeah, I'm not just essentially, yeah. I'm not just talking about the main theme either. I'm talking about, I mean, let's look at the sequence where Mr. Incredible finds out that all the superheroes have died, and it kind of cuts back and forth in parallel storytelling with Mrs. Incredible finding out that Bob's been lying about going to work, and he's actually doing superhero stuff on the side. It's a beautiful sequence, and that's just like, whenever... The Incredibles is such a good movie, and I hope that Incredibles 2... I'm not asking... Because Incredibles, in my opinion, is one of the best movies, like, out there. I'm not asking for Brad Bird to make another greatest movie of all time. I'm just asking him to make a movie that is worth being a successor to The Incredibles. You know what I'm saying? Like, The Force Awakens is a worthful successor to the original trilogy of Star Wars. It's not one of the greatest movies of all time because it doesn't need to be. Does that make sense?
Yeah. But this time next year, we will know whether or not that's panned out, because its release was, I think it was like 2019, and then it swapped places with Toy Story, and then it became June 15th, 2018. So it's on my birthday. I'm
really looking forward to Toy Story 4. I might be the only person on planet Earth, but I am really looking forward to Toy Story 4. Like, that... Another good movie-going experience was Toy Story 3. First time I ever heard my mom swear at a movie screen. It's the one when Lotso's like, spoilers, "Where's your kid now, Sheriff?" My mom audibly yelled, "Fuck!" like, towards, like, at the screen. It was so funny. Oh, she was really invested in that movie.
See, me and my mum went to watch Toy Story 3 as well. We were there opening weekend, and I'd just finished college, and I was just about to go to university. And then there's the scene where Andy's mum walks into the room and just sees the empty room, and that set her off. Yeah. And it was just perfect timing in both of our lives for it, and it speaks to the universal experiences that Pixar are able to tap into. But for when I say that the thing my hopes for Incredibles 2 are that it actually happens, I know that it comes out in less than a year, but part of me will not believe it until there's trailers, until I'm actually watching it.
Yeah, until I'm sitting in the theater and the Pixar short is over and we get an Incredibles 2 title card. Like, okay, so Incredibles 2 is about to happen.
It's like same for Avatar 2. I'm not going to believe it's happening until I'm actually watching it.
Yeah, not until I see whatever James Cameron's come up with next in technology and how he changes cinema and causes things to rise up $2 more. Yeah.
It's like, even though the film comes out less than a year, the only cast members we know are Holly Hunter as Elastigirl and Samuel L. Jackson as Frozone. No one else has actually been confirmed.
Wait, really?
Yeah. Like, I'm sure if you go to IMDb there's going to be more, but there's no actual stories announcing cast members outside of those two. Giacchino is also doing the score.
Oh, thank God.
And Brad Bird is writing and directing. Okay. But we know so little about.
Yeah, we don't know. We don't know the plot. We don't know the title. I guess it's just going to be Incredibles 2, which I'm fine
We also
with.
Don't know the time period, which is actually kind of important, I think.
Do you reckon? I reckon I want it to be like Finding Dory. This like 6 months later. But everyone's like, no, make it 10, 12 years later. I'm like, no. Like, you just set up the family as a family unit. Don't go around changing the dynamic again. Keep it established where if that means getting, different voice actors for Dash and Violet, I'm down for that. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Here's why I will ask for you, Radbird. If you can find a way to make a moment that is as awesome as the moment where Dash is running and the music goes silent and you hear him and he hears something and we pan down, he sees that he runs in water and he just kind of gives out this chuckle of like, yeah, or like everyone's reaction of like, I can run on water, and he just starts running in between the cliffs and the music builds, and yeah, if you could just do something that's, oh man, that's one of the best moments in like any Pixar movie ever.
I think for Incredibles the first one, I think it's got
for
an amazing
Incredibles
opening.
the first. That's the title.
Incredibles the first one. I love the opening. Like, isn't the opening shot of that film Mr. Incredible struggling to get his microphone on?
It sets up how human the movie is going to feel. Yeah, I do.
Yeah, right, He's like, I can punch through walls, but I can't get this thing on.
Dude, how good is it when it's like, oh, they start taking all this stuff out. And the music builds a ba-da-ba-ba-da, and then they all get their pose, whoosh, oh, and then the ending when the Underminer shows up, and everyone's got their mask on, and he opens up his shirt, it's like The Incredibles, it's like, see you in 14 years, you're like, ugh.
Do you think that future DVD and Blu-ray releases of that will actually have that? He doesn't open up his shirt and it's the Incredible logos, he opens it up and the shirt says, see you in 14 years.
It's like
it is an animated film. They could do it.
You thought The Wait for Empire was bad.
Oh god.
Yeah.
And this is going to be us talking about the first Incredibles, but the chase scene with Dash when he really lets loose for the first time, and he walks on the water and the score changes like as he's running on the water.
Yeah.
And it's a superb set piece. It's amazing stuff.
And then Brad Bird as the voice of Edna Mode. And of course the classic meme starter of Where's My Super Suit, which is an incredibly accurate conversation to when a black couple screams at each other, I can tell you that much. God, it's so funny. Mm-hmm. Where's my super suit? I put it away. Where? Why do you need to know? The city's in danger. My evening's in danger. Just the escalation.
We are talking about the greater good. Greater good. I am your wife.
I'm the greatest good you ever go get.
It's so cool.
God, that's beautiful.
I also love how Frozone is a better Iceman than the X-Men films got.
That's what I'm saying.
How he's surfing on his own, like he's throwing the ice in front of him and he's surfing and running on it. And he leaps up and he makes a snowboard from his feet. It's amazing.
Oh my god. I love how that implies, he shows up later, with his super suit, what happened? Did he had to sit through dinner first, right? His wife made him eat dinner and then he could go out and play with his friends. Oh, that's perfect.
I know that it might be a bit pandering, but Incredibles 2 has got to do some sort of reference or callback to Where Is My Super Suit? It could just be, Where is my super suit? And it turns out he's wearing it the whole time.
Yeah, it's like, honey, where's my... never mind. And he just runs out and he runs out of the room.
It's like, where's my phone? Oh, it's in my pocket.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
When you're talking, to somebody on the phone, it's like, where's my phone? And you realize you're talking to somebody on the phone. I do that all the time, and it's honestly irritating. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. So the moral of the story is Incredibles is really, really good.
It is. It's one of my favorite movies. Pixar is, they're geniuses. Okay. So I'm going to take this time now during the listener questions to answer this question for the last and final time. This is nothing on you, Mr. Jack Fitzpatrick. You're catching the flag.
Oh, Jack, you're about to get schooled.
Here's what I will say, everybody. everybody that's been tweeting me and commenting, I've probably gotten, 35 times in the last 2 weeks aware if the podcast will be on iTunes. And I won't give the person's name, but I specifically stated that we talked about this a couple podcasts ago, about what was going on with the iTunes. And the person's exact response is, I don't have time to listen to the whole podcast to get the information. And this is why I waited till 2.5 hours in to say this. Because if you don't have time, if you're so in love with the podcast that you want to watch it on iTunes or whatever, but you don't want to you don't want to, first of all, sit through, poor choice of words, you don't want to sit through the podcast that you get for free, by the way, to find out information that we've also already put in the bloody comments and tweeted about. To answer everybody's question, no, I do not know when it will be back on iTunes, because Bandit stopped paying for it, because Bandit has a real job to do now, because YouTube took away all his money.
And any listeners, if they see anyone in the comment section asking when this is going on iTunes, please do not post the timestamp of Tre's rant so they can just skip straight to it. If they want to know what's happening for iTunes, they can listen to the podcast.
I've now said this out loud twice. I have tweeted 4 times, and I've replied to like 6 comments. There. It's done. Alright. Chobi, do you have another question?
We just got this. It's that meme of Frodo about to fall, falling into the fire, saying it's done, it's finished.
It's done.
That's you right now.
God. Alright, do you have another question, Trilby?
Just thinking. Okay, so Lewis Peterling and Nathaniel Jepson asked similar questions, what would we do for the Transformers franchise to make them good or improve them? Jepson specifically says what do the fans of Transformers actually want in the films? I wasn't an avid watcher and only know the basics, but what is Michael Bay doing wrong with the franchise? It was just a glorified toy advert anyway. So yeah, that makes it. This is basically a franchise that was made to sell toys in the 1980s, but I think what fans want. It's not just a franchise. What am I trying to say here? It is, the mythology is rich and really, really awesome and inventive. This is not just cars that can transform into robots. There's alien robots and machine planets and civil wars and destroyed worlds. And if you played the video game War for Cybertron by High Moon Studios, is it? It came out 2000. And
the same people that did the Deadpool game or whatever. Yeah, High Moon Studios.
That's the one. Yeah, War for Cybertron came out in 2010. You can get it on Steam dirt cheap. It's the summer sale. You can probably get it really, really cheap, and it will run on most laptops. It runs on mine, and mine's 5 years old. But it's basically just portrays the story of what happened before Cybertron fell, or the days leading up to the end of Cybertron. Yeah, and it's entirely based on the Transformers. There's no human characters, and it is about this dynamic between these two factions and these two Optimus Prime and Megatron, who did used to be friends, who just disagreed on what they thought was best for the planet, and that fight ultimately wound up causing the destruction of their world, and they had to leave. I think that what you really want from a Transformers film or film franchise is just coherency, really.
That's bare minimum, Trilby.
Yeah, basic storytelling, narrative through lines, characters, continuity. This is bare minimum stuff. It's not just the fact that the Transformers franchise, the films are bad. It's that they're incredibly bad, and that they sort of miss the basic fundamentals of filmmaking, editing, character arcs, theme, story, stuff like that. And it's also the fact that Michael Bay has openly said in the past that he doesn't like the Transformers brand. He doesn't want to do films based on toy commercials. He thinks he's above the franchise, which he could be. Maybe he is above the Transformers series, but it's still something that demands some sort of care and respect when plotting out. And I think that games like War for Cybertron, or the TV series Transformers Prime, or even the original animated series and the 1980s movie, which, yeah, is a toy commercial, but it still is better than anything Michael Bay has done on a fraction of the budget. It shows that good material can be mined here, and that these are characters that people care about, and that, yeah, you can get some great action, but there is still some interesting dynamics here.
Here's what I'll say, Jepson, Nathaniel. Every movie is made with one goal in mind. I'm not speaking about, now when I say that,
artistic integrity.
I'm not speaking to the people that are the directors and the writers. I'm speaking to the people that produce the film, that distribute the film. The goal of that, the studio. The goal of that movie is not to inspire young people to want to create art. It's not to entertain them. It is to make money. Now, you have other goals besides that from different people working on the film, but that main goal of any film ever is to make money. When any film does not do well, the reason it is called a failure is because it's show business, to quote John Campea. You are doing anything. Anything you ever do is a product. It is meant to make money. But at the same time, that doesn't mean you can't have artistic integrity, like Trillbee said. That doesn't mean you can't make your product good. And you need to have this level of respect for your audiences. And that's why you can make, as a movie like Lego Movie, can be a fantastic look on satire and a meta commentary on the Legos in general, and still be and yet also be a really good kids film and a really good story and film in general, while also allowing Lego sets to now go for $200, as opposed to Minions, which was specifically made to sell Minion toys and make money and make $1 billion off of the Minions. You know, you see, there's not Toy Story 3 and Cars 2. Both were made to make money, but one was specifically a product to sell Cars toys, and the other was to complete this story, this trilogy of films. And so go ahead, Trillbee.
Well, I'm just sorry to interrupt your point, but you've got this source material in Batman.
Yeah,
you have a guy who beats up crime fighters because he misses his mum and dad. I know I'm butchering the mythology, but that's the basic story here.
That's essentially, yes. that's the Lego Batman version, but yes.
But on one end of the spectrum, you have Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight, considered one of the greatest movies ever made, or at least one of the biggest blockbuster films ever made, with some great themes and great production values and coherent stories. It would be hard to not
find that film on the top 10 of all-time lists. Most people would have it there somewhere.
Exactly, yes. But on the other end of the spectrum, you have Batman and Robin, which was a film that literally was meant to be a toy commercial. There is a scene where the main Bat family at the end get changed into different costumes because the toy manufacturers wanted another set of toys to sell to the children. This is the same source material, but you're getting two very different results. And I'm not saying that you can have a toy commercial and it's automatically bad. You can have a good toy commercial, but it's all about the sensibility. It's how you treat that source material, and how just because you come from questionable or dubious source material doesn't mean you can't have a fantastic end result. Or I'm not saying that Warner Brothers they made Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight because they didn't want to make an awesome, great, meaningful, artistic film, but they also understand that sometimes having a great, artistic, awesome 10 out of 10 blockbuster film and making a lot of money, sometimes there's a lot of overlap there.
And that's why often you'll get franchises that the reason they're successful is because they make money and that they are good. You know, we are approaching a time, and like we said last year, 2016 was almost this lesson to Hollywood of, oh yeah, those crap films, they don't make money anymore. You know, a movie like Alien Covenant isn't great, and it didn't do great. You know what I'm saying? But a movie like Wonder Woman has legs. A movie like Mad Max had legs because they were both good films. And so you're right, the process of making good films and making... Marvel has made $11 billion. And this was before Guardians 2. Was their collective cum was like $11 billion for Disney. And that's because that not only are the movies profitable and they're able to make money, but they're also very good and people keep coming back to wanting to see them.
Yeah, I think that there is something to be said for like franchise fatigue, and like 2017. Like obviously, it's not entirely the case because you have Beauty and the Beast and Fast and Furious and Guardians of the Galaxy, which are the top 3 highest grossing films of the year. But
at the same time, Beauty and the Beast was a remake, and that wasn't necessarily part of an established franchise.
No, but it is drawing directly from the iconography of something that people enjoy and loved in the past.
Yes, fair.
Right. What you have is that you have these films such as Pirates of the Caribbean, Ghost in the Shell, Baywatch, Power Rangers, and The Mummy, and all these other films that have disappointed audiences, haven't been very well received, have disappointed the box office. King Arthur, Smurfs: The Lost Village. All of these other films, like Chips, I'm just going through the list now. Like Valerian is probably going to bomb, hopefully. Yeah. Let's see how that goes. Diary of a Wimpy Kid. All these films which should have probably been sure things at the they weren't very good, and audiences aren't turning out to see them. And it's films that maybe did take a chance, like Logan, like an R-rated superhero film in the style of a Western. Yeah. Like it's Unforgiven or Shane, but with Wolverine. That was a massive risk that has been in development for a long time. But
another quick side tangent, the Obi-Wan movie, just do Logan with Obi-Wan. Like, that's essentially what it like. Whenever someone's like, "How are you gonna do an Obi-Wan movie?" My answer can now be, just make a film similar to Logan with Obi-Wan. Mm-hmm. That's really all, because that's essentially what I wanted, was a Western set in the Star Wars universe, and so just Logan but Obi-Wan. That's just all you have to do. Call it Kenobi for all I care.
But yeah, some of the biggest films of 2017 have not, like, even if they didn't necessarily make as much money, they made just as much of an impact and were a lot more profitable because their budgets were a lot smaller.
Get Out.
For example, Get Out. Yes, Get Out is one of the biggest films of the year in terms of profitability, and now Jordan Peele can do whatever the hell he wants in his business for a long time to come.
He's either signed on for something else or he's been flagged for something else, hasn't he? He's in negotiations.
Yes, it's another
Universal.
It's another social. It's another social thriller. Yeah. He was rumored to do Akira, which would have been, in my opinion, it would have been the wrong thing for him to do, but it would have been interesting.
Yeah.
It's looking now. It's not on his Wikipedia, but I believe he does have another social thriller in mind, which is going to be done through Blumhouse again, I believe.
I wonder if it's going to be. I wonder if they're going to keep it race related, or if he's going to try to tackle other issues.
Possibly, but here's the thing: Get Out cost $4.5 million to make. It has made $251 million at the box office.
That's awesome. That's like Blair Witch money. That's awesome.
Let me just get my percentage calculator out here, and we're going to do a bit of math, kids.
No, I didn't study. Oh, I'm going to barely pass again.
Second. Oh, God's sake, why is this so hard?
That's what she said.
Distract them.
Sorry.
Quick Trade distracts them for a moment.
Furthermore, I swear, I'm gonna get like 5 more tweets this week. Is it gonna be on iTunes?
Okay.
Oh, what?
The percentage, the profit from Get Out was 5,477%.
Jesus, 5,000% profit.
I'm sure that there's going to be let's say a 60-70% profit on Transformers: The Last Night, but a 5,400 percent profit.
Jesus.
That's a metric that gives studio executives wet dreams.
Yeah,
that is something that Kathleen Kennedy will wake.
Oh, Trillbee.
That is...
Trillbee.
It is not inaccurate.
What a gross image, Trillbee.
It is gross, but not inaccurate.
Hashtag.
Hashtag. I kind of wish that I was titling these podcasts like I was on Film Brits.
Dude, I'll do that. I'll put the hashtag in the description like I did with Notre Dame. Last week's episode would have been called Notre Dame if you were naming them, wouldn't it?
Yep. I would have found something just as weird every episode. I figure it out.
No episode would be called Tom Cruise Loves His Microwaves.
So I've just gone onto Twitter, and this is a random tangent, but there's just a picture that's had like 2,000 retweets. And there's a box, a cardboard box that's been taped shut, and it says "Do not use blade to open." And somebody's just like got the DVD disc of the movie Blade, nice, and is just running it across the box. And it says "Fuck the police."
Aren't drugs wonderful, Trillbee?
I'm on them right now.
Right on. Joey sent me the image. Gotta check this out. All right, guys, and
I've got it.
All right, guys, that makes great radio. And with that, we'll close this down. Thank you guys all for listening. Like and subscribe. Join us next week when we talk Spider-Man? I don't know. We'll talk about something next week. We'll figure it out.
I have no idea what comes out in the UK next weekend.
We'll figure.
I think it's a quiet weekend.
We'll figure something out. I'll probably have seen Baby Driver. We'll talk about something.
Have you seen Cars 3 yet?
No. Why would I? No. What?
Okay, because I swear I remember you saying that Cars was the best that Pixar had to offer, and you couldn't wait for Cars 3.
Why would I? Fake news, Trillbee. Why
Did
would
I dream
ever
that?
say that? No. Maybe it might have been in your wet dream. I don't understand. No.
Not my wet dream. It would have been Kathleen's wet
That's
dream.
right. The podcast media liked my stuff. What? Yeah, like she cares. Anyway.
Next weekend it's Despicable Me 3 in the UK.
Oh yeah.
Like all the other films are sort of giving it a wide berth.
Yeah, we get that next week too. We'll talk about something. I kind of want to talk about the old Spider-Man films. I kind of want to talk about things.
We get Spider-Man on July 5th, and then the weekend after it's War for the Planet of the Apes.
We get Spider-Man on the 7th. So we could take next week and talk about the older Spider-Man films. If you have time to watch, if you have time to look at those.
Right, I'm not watching that bloody those two amazing films.
I like the first one.
I have no tolerance.
All right. Well, we'll talk about the original Spider-Man trilogy next week. Then that should be a fun ride.
We could try and find the Spider-Man 3 editor's cut that was leaked online and made available to buy on Amazon, and then mysteriously vanished.
That person's now dead. Sam Raimi strangled him in his sleep.
That person has now been consumed by the Venom symbiote.
Just like somebody from Sony just like got him in a dark alley, looking Get Out. Just followed him on the street. All right, Trillbee, where can people find you?
Oh yeah, we're still recording.
Yeah, we're still outro, right?
You can find me being really, really professional on podcasts, including the Film Brits podcast, which my patrons have now got a hold of because they get it a couple of days early. But it will be on my YouTube channel, Trillbee Reviews. You can also find it on my Twitter at Trillbee Reviews, on my Facebook at Mr. TARDIS Reviews, and on my website www.trillbee.com. And Trey, what about you? Where can people find you online?
You sound drunk. They can find me right here on Podcast Media. Game of Thrones comes back in like 2 weeks, so that's gonna be something. Reviews are probably gonna be back on those. I'm excited. You can also find me on Instagram and Twitter at Podcast Media. Equation's still in production, on its way out. I'm excited.
Whoop, whoop.
Yeah, that's what I said. I'm so if I sound tired, because I've been doing nothing but yeah. All right. Catch you all later, our movie maniacs.